of them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
It is becoming an end-of-year tradition here on iRacing as we get ready once again for the return of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship and, of course, the support series here in the UK Formula 4 1600s. We begin the season at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit and we are ready for excellent racing. I am sure we are strapped and ready to go. I mean, I'm so excited to be back. It's myself, Lewis McGlade. It is Cameron Roger in the commentary booth, as it has been for the last couple of seasons. And this has been a great end to the competitive year of sim racing for us over the last couple of years. And again, I'm super excited to see British Formula 4s back. And I'm super excited to see the Formula 4s as well.
Yeah, this genuinely is one of the best championships in sim racing. And I can't wait to see what we're going to do this year because basically, these cars on these tracks just perform and they are such a good combination. And at the end of the day, we want a good championship. The fights the last couple of years I've been on this, covering this, have been so amazing. And I can't wait to see what we're going to get again because, once again, great prizes for the drivers just to motivate them that little bit more.
Yeah, certainly. So, of course, some of those prizes being that movement forward into British Formula 4, but there's esports rather. There's also plenty more up for grabs. Let's talk you through how the evening's going to work. Of course, we start here with the UK Formula 4 1600 Esports Cup, and that begins with a lone qualifying where they get 4 laps around this fantastic circuit, and then we'll have 2 races of 15 minutes. That second one being the all-important reverse grid race. Once we're done with that, we'll be moving on to the British Formula 4 Esports, where I'm pretty sure chaos will reign supreme, and also some excellent races, some of the tightest winning margins I've ever seen in British Formula 4 Esports. This is the season schedule. Of course, we'll be starting here at Donington Park Grand Prix. Then we'll be going to Thruxton, which will be very exciting. We've not been there before. Stetston 300 before we go to the Alton Park International Circuit, Silverstone Grand Prix, and Knockhill. Those for all the exact same as it was last year. The difference here is that Zandvoort has moved from round 2 down to round 7, being the penultimate round of the season when we head to Brands Hatch for the Grand Prix circuit towards the end of November. Here's how the prizes work. Of course, the top 2 drivers in the championship will receive a fully funded entry into the 2025 British Formula 4 Esports Championship, which is always excellent to see. I guess with Henry Moore last season being promoted up into it and doing his debut season, he put on a fantastic performance, finished up runner-up in the championship, maybe a runner-up in the championship, or a champion may even emerge from this championship as well. You can also see the winning driver will receive the Huiskeveld Ultimate Plus Black 3 pedal set, along with the second place getting the Huiskeveld Sprints, and also the Sprints, but only the 2 pedal set for the third place finisher. And of course, they'll have a named trophy, which I've got a couple of named trophies myself. Have you got any named trophies?
Not named, actually, no. I have quite a few trophies on the wall to the side of me here, but unfortunately, none with my name actually on it. So that is always a great one because, to be honest, especially in sim racing, where you spend a lot of time, in your room yourself, and it's cool the fact that you can have all these friends over the world. But the fact, if you can get a physical prize from sim racing, that is really cool indeed, and I think that's a great addition. But who is going to get their name on that? That is what we're about to find out as we get ready to get the first qualifying session of the season.
Yeah, taking a look at some of our cars here that will be racing around. Of course, we're in practice at the moment, getting ready to head into that qualifying session. Qualifying, if you haven't joined us here for the Formula 4, it'll be a 10-minute session where they get 4 laps around the circuit to put their good lap time in. Qualifying around here, generally speaking, hasn't been the most important thing, but you do want to qualify on the front couple of rows, mostly to stay out of danger. However, if the qualifying session does go awry, you can, generally speaking, work your way up the order by keeping your nose clean. These cars do race quite well, especially around here, and we do see the packs of sort of between 4 and 6 appear up and down the order.
Yeah, this is quite a drivers already having some offs there going through the Fox ESs, but yeah, this car generally works quite well with the slipstream, and on a track like this where there's such long straights, there's such long distance between the corners, it's really a momentum based track. If you get stuck underneath the gearbox of someone, you can follow them around here, but you make one mistake, you lose a lot of momentum and your time will be going in the bin. So it's going to be a very interesting race, I'm sure. Of course, we've got the full Grand Prix loop as well, so that extra hairpin, some overtaking opportunities down there as well, can always have a bit of a send, is always a good one in these cars, because it is rather difficult in some ways to make the overtake in the higher speed corners around here.
Yeah, certainly. So, like I say, you got those couple of overtaking opportunities, but it can be a little bit difficult. We'll talk through the lap once we get a lap time, basically, onto the ball, once we see what they're actually getting up to in this qualifying session. Whilst practice has come to a close, bit of a note from that one, Franek Sikorsky, on a return to the championship, did top the practice session with a 1 minute 36.350. Wonder if that is going to be the goal for a lot of these drivers to head towards. A lot of quality drivers that we've seen from throughout the world of sim racing as well, see what they can end up getting up to in this car, which is quite a tricky one to navigate around, Cam. It does dance around this circuit quite a bit. Some drivers love it, some drivers not so much.
Yeah, it's a very tricky one. I mean, obviously no wings, as you can see, so no downforce, and they also don't have, proper slick tyres either. So if it does rain, they don't have to make pit stops, which is good, but therefore slightly less grip as well. So they do slide all over the place. If we ever see some of the onboard cameras as well at some point from the drivers' rigs, you will see they're moving around on the steering wheel quite a lot. You do have to be fairly calm, but in general, you have to really hang that rear out a little bit to get the car rotated into the corners. Is a very tricky car to master, and at the end of the day, a bit of slide is good, but too much and you just don't get the drive and the acceleration, and these cars don't have the power to overcome that. So got to keep it nice and smooth, and therefore you'll be getting the lap time, but it's certainly one of the trickier cars. Here's Crofton Woodhatch, who was probably one of the fastest but also most inconsistent drivers last season. Let's see if he can sort of go for the championship by being a little bit more consistent. He always had the speed, he was always able to get on the podiums, but a few too many crashes and incidents in the races last year.
Yeah, certainly so. We have seen plenty of quality driving from quite a lot of this field up and down the order, and of course it's always provided some excellent racing. Good to see Crofton Woodhatch back. Good to see I say some of the returning drivers. Great to see a load of the new drivers, but great to see a nice little lap here around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. We're going to head out onto the start finish straight here, which of course takes us down into turn one at Redgate, the right-hander. We end the Wheatcroft straight. They use a little bit of the left-hand side here on the entrance to pit, or the exit rather, to pit exit. Into the first corner they go into Redgate before we go into Hollywood, the slight curve right-hander. We do expect plenty of side-by-side down through the Craner curves as we head right, then flick it over the left-hander as the track dips away whilst you're in the cockpit. You almost can't see that drop off on the left-hand side. A little bit of a dab of the brakes and flick it through the right-hander as they go through the old hairpin, then through Starkeys here as we head up the hill towards the Schwantz curve and then into the right-hander at McLean's. Very tricky braking zone, this one. Do see a couple of dives throughout the race into this corner, but it's such a high average speed, especially here in the Formula Fords. You don't really scrub off too much speed going into it. Coppice, blind right-hander as you go over the crest, then out onto the Starkeys straight, which takes us down the back end of the circuit. You want to pull it back over to the right-hand side of the circuit. This is where the Dunlop bridge used to be, the big wheel that we all have fond memories, I think, of Donington Park. Hasn't been there for a long time, though, despite it being very picturesque. Through the Fogarty S down towards the Melbourne hairpin, named so because of the village that's just down the road. If you went in a straight line from here, you'll end up in the little town of Melbourne. It's more of a village. Into the right-hander, kick of oversteer coming in from Crofton Woodhatch, who's trying to arrest the car and get it stopped. Out down towards the final corner at Goddard's, and it'll be a tight left-hander as the circuit drops off to the left-hand side. Rather than completing the lap, setting a great time, he's more preparing for another flying lap. So not particularly pleased with how that lap's unfolded for Crofton Woodhatch.
It's very interesting seeing some of his facial expressions as he went through the corners. He was very calm, but clearly not very happy. So he's going for another run. And of course, you have time to do so, but it is just 3 laps in the session. So it's really just one run. And he is going a little bit early. A lot of lap times going in, though. Matt Kendall is going to the front at the moment on 37.29. Sanders less than a tenth of a second, even less than that, just a hundredth of a second behind him in second place. But look at some of these gaps, just about a quarter of a second covering the top 6.
Yeah, and we do expect these times to remain close. They have been close quite a lot over the last couple of years. Of course, this competition being run for 2 seasons. Now this being the 3rd season of it. Of course, British Formula 4 Esports has an extra season on it. The running back a few years ago in 2022 was just as a solo championship. This came along in 2023 as an addition, as a support series to British Formula 4 Esports. And I remember being like, I'm not too sure about this. And then went through the 2023 season. I was like, this is excellent. And last season, again, great as well. Great battle between Mark Fletcher and Shoma Shitani. Of course, Shoma Shitani will be racing in British Formula 4 Esports later on tonight. Mark Fletcher, unfortunately, will not be. We'll discuss that as the evening rolls on. We ride on board with Rebecca Morrell into the left and the right, going through the Fogarty S, and I'll say excellently nailed there.
Yeah, absolutely. In towards the Melbourne hairpin as Kendall retakes that provisional pole. McClements into second place as well, as Morrell has just 1 corner to go. And it's such a tricky off-camber corner. You can easily throw away your lap here. How late does he want to brake into that final corner? Way after that curb. Gets it in nicely, actually. Quite a long run there through the apex and up towards the line. It's just such a long run to get your lap time at the end of the grid. And it's a 37.5, so that's going to be up into 7th place.
Yeah, how brake does she want to late indeed? That was well, nice one. It still is Kendall, of course, on that pole position at present. Franek Sikorsky yet to set a quality lap time in this session, along with Crofton Woodhatch. This is Brandon Loudon as Jamie Hopper goes up into 2nd position. We will note and Hayden Bramley up there into 2nd. Obviously, those two new to the championship. Brandon Loudon has been a championship before, and slapping on the Meta Quest 2. I've got one of those. I normally use it for golf though, but we don't talk about that.
I'm sure we will talk about golf a few points.
What do you mean?
This championship. I'm more interested into that balloon or whatever it is that's in the background. But also the VR, the choice of VR is very interesting indeed for a championship, because often drivers find that they are actually quicker with a monitor. But let's see what Brandon can do. He had some very strong results over the course of last season in towards the final corner, choosing a much later apex than we saw with Morrell and sliding that rear end, trying to get the car rotated up towards the line. And it looks like it is going to be into the 37.3. That's going to be up towards the front, but actually not, because of the closeness of the lap times. It's just 7th place.
Yeah, indeed. You can see that car was not particularly compliant through the final corner. A couple of position changes. Wan Shi Lin goes up into 9th position. Me and Cam have more typically seen Lin in touring cars recently, so it's great to see him in venturing out here into some Formula Fords. There's Crofton Woodhatch. There we go, straight to the top of the session. 0.1 of a second clear of Matt Kendall. Sam Sanders as well up into 2nd. The experience of a couple of these drivers seeming to come to the fore. Franek Sikorsky, despite topping practice, has not really made a big dent in this session. 22nd and last at the moment as Team Milikangas goes to 3rd.
And with half a second covering the top 13 there, pretty much, to have a tenth of a second gap over some drivers is a great job indeed. Bramley retakes that 3rd place with another lap coming in there. 10th of a second for the top 4. What a close qualifying session we have. We've got a couple of minutes left, but most of the drivers have set their 3 laps already. We're just looking at Sikorsky here. Charlie Summers to the front by 22 thousandths of a second, takes it off Crofton Woodhatch.
Yeah, and again, that is the 3rd lap there for Charlie Summers. There is one more they can do. They have a limit of 4 laps in this qualifying session to bring it across the line. 1 minute and 53 seconds left to go, though. There might not be enough time for Franek Sikorsky to put in the 4th lap time based on where we are in the session. And in fact, what I'm looking at here, he definitely will not have the time to do so. So this lap time is incredibly important for Sikorsky, who did top practice coming into this qualifying session. Can he get any closer to the top of the session? Could he even go to the top of the session as he crosses the line? It is only 11th position. Disappointment for Sikorsky.
Yes, indeed, a driver that we will be expecting to be up towards the front over the course of the season. Struggling a bit there in that qualifying session, but once again, it is just so close out there as Kane Ryder goes to the third place. Woodhatch retakes a provisional pole. Sanders up towards the line with a 36.9, is not able to improve and stays in fourth place.
Yeah, I mean, gets to within a thousandth of a second of Kane Ryder. Rebecca Morel goes up into 13th position. Here's Timu Milakangis up towards the line, 9.50. A solid lap time, does get ahead of Hayden Bramley, but Crofton Woodhatch looks to be the driver to grab pole position. Can anyone else set a time to maybe move clear? Hayden Bramley does improve, so goes up onto the front row of the grid, cuts it down to within a tenth of a second.
Every single lap, these drivers just going half a tenth quicker. They're just eking out every little bit. There's no sort of drop off in the pace. They're actually getting faster as the run goes on. 30 seconds remain in the session. Is there time for any other driver just to sneak it in? But for Woodhatch having a tenth of a second basically at the front, with look how close we are in the background. Ryder, Sanders, Milakangis, just 0.02 of a second separating the three drivers there. That is absolutely ridiculous with how close it is in this qualifying session, and half a second inside the top 10.
Yes, indeed. It is a tight session. Not sure if Devon Bow's going to be able to finish off the lap time there. There is Crofton Woodhatch eagerly awaiting to see if it is going to be finished off on pole position. And I believe as the checkered flag comes out, the session will come to a close. And it is first blood to Crofton Woodhatch. Front row of the group will be Woodhatch and Bramley. Great qualifying session for one of our more experienced drivers there. Crofton Woodhatch will start from pole position. Hayden Bramley alongside. Charlie Summers in third position with Kane Ryder up into fourth. Sam Sanders down into fifth position with Timu Milakangis down in sixth on row number 3. Matt Kendall and Jamie Hobber make up row number 4 with Matthew Jordan and Dylan McClements rounding out the top 10. Brandon Loudon using the VR to get to 11th with Franek Sikorsky having an unfortunate session down in 12th. Rebecca Morel, we saw an onboard lap with her a bit earlier on 13th position. Wen Shi Lin on debut in 14th with Jeffrey Decker and Jonathan Smith. Mario Ras and Paige Dovenbout across the line in 18th position. Final 2 rows of the grid is Isaac Gabe and Jaden Sherwood with Mark Winter and of course Alan Yang, the final row of the grid. Cam, they're getting themselves into position, they're getting themselves ready to go. Crofton Woodhatch ready to compete for the championship this year. We saw some great flashes back in 2024. What will we see out of him this year?
I think he's going to be very strong with the experience that he's got, and he now knows the mistakes that can be made, and hopefully it knows how to rectify them as well with that extra year's experience. But Bramley, Summers, Ryder, some new drivers to the championship, all in there behind some Sanders who had some great results last year. I'm really looking forward to see what they can do to challenge Woodhatch as well. But it's so close at the front there. I mean, a tenth of a second in some ways doesn't mean an awful lot because you can stay in the slipstream at that sort of gap in lap time. So it's going to be a big group fighting up towards the front, and of course they are fighting for the points in the championship, which matter even in this first race. You want to be getting them on the board straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could see from that angle there the run up towards the first corner, which typically causes its fair share of drama. Everyone is in position and ready to go for the run to Redgate. 15 minutes go on to the clock, and we are ready to go for the first race of the UK Formula 4 1600 Esports Championship here in support of British Formula 4 Esports. We are ready to go racing, and we are racing for the first race of the season. There is a stall in the background. Matthew Jordan's going to drop down to the rear of the field, but it is a good start from Crofton Woodhatch to the front. Hayden Bramley drops straight back into the slipstream, over to the right-hand side of the camera, the left-hand side of the circuit as he goes around the outside of Redgate. A little bit too committed. It's going to open the door for Charlie Summers to come through as well. Side by side for second position as they go into the Craners, but Crofton Woodhatch has held and maintained the race lead.
Sanders as well as jump Ryder for fourth position as we come down in towards the old hairpin, and it does look like Matthew Jordan did get going, just a bit slow off the line, but not a retirement for now as we come up the hill once more. The drivers in a single file formation, no one going for any crazy moves just yet.
Milakangis, I think, was out a little bit wide and is under an awful lot of pressure as they rise their way up the hill. Got Kendall directly behind, ready to pounce through a move, but that one for sixth position. I'm sure Milakangis will pick up the slipstream once more of Kane Ryder as they go their way into Coppice, the right-hander. A couple of looks in the background as we go back. Rebecca Morel able to keep Franek Sikorsky at bay. Sikorsky remaining in 12th position. Wan Shi Lin behind. Single file. Couple of drivers running out wide in the exit of Coppice as we expect.
and in towards these Fogarty S's, and it looks like everyone is keeping it nice and clean for now. So good opening lap to start the season. No big contacts, because in these cars it's very easy to spin each other around. Just a little bit of contact on the rear wheels and you will be seeing cars flying all over the place as the 67S. Big send down the inside. That's Kendall and Milikangas. Gets up the inside. Unfortunately, that turns to the outside for the final corner. So move not complete just yet, but at least trying to think about it, trying to force a little bit of a mistake for the 24.
Milikangas down the inside and is able to hang on, but maybe starting to feel the pressure of Matt Kendall behind. Bit of side-by-side as well as Brandon Loudon tries to get alongside Dylan McClements at the back end of the top 10. 9th position they fight over. Here comes a look to the inside from Matt Kendall, who makes the move on Milikangas as they go their way into Redgate. Is Milikangas alongside? No, he's not. So the position is sorted and settled. Kendall is through 6th position. Now belongs to the 67, but now it's 4/10 of a margin up to Kane Ryder.
That was a lovely move. 3-4 corners in the making, and finally got it stuck. We'll have to see what they can do in terms of battling up ahead. McClements does make the move, but that actually is because Jamie Hopper's gone down, so Loudon's got past him as well. And maybe a train of cars, so he's obviously gone wide coming out of the old hairpin. He's lost the momentum. 3-4 cars go past, down to 13th position. Even a further send up the inside from Jonathan Smith.
So we were going to get a couple of sends into McLean's, but that was a big one for Jamie Hopper to deal with. But saw it coming and opened the door a little bit for Jonathan Smith, as we can see on board here with Jamie Hopper. And I mean, look, I will say it was actually a fairly decent recovery, all things considered. It's so easy. Basically, these cars drive around in one big pack. If you go wide at somewhere like the old hairpin, which is so intensely committed going into, you maybe lock your rear brake, slide out the rear end a little bit, and you go off. There was a bit of a spin ahead as Franek Sikorsky is round. Sikorsky has been spinning and spinning and spinning on the exit of the Fogarty S.
I think it might be Wan Chi Lin maybe who's involved in that one as a bit of a side-by-side. I wonder if there was contact or if there was just a bit of a wiggle on the curb, but it's a very interesting place to spin on that inside line as well. But unfortunately for Sikorsky, a bit of an underwhelming qualifying, and now in the race as well is dropping backwards and has gone down to P20.
Yeah, certainly. So big shame there. Let's see on the replay as to what happened. So Sikorsky a little too overcommitted, had a slide. I think then did get a tap on the way through, but I mean, you can't blame anyone for that. He was having a slide going through the Fogarty S, was slowing down basically courtesy of it, and the spin sending Sikorsky outside of the top 15.
Yeah, that's such a big shame. He's going to have a long way back to get any sort of decent points. But we still have 11 minutes left, and you never know what these guys up front are going to do. So just got to keep on going. At the front, though, it is a huge train behind Croft and Woodhatch. Is this because everyone is off the same speed, or is this Woodhatch just not pushing 100% because he knows he has those extra couple of tenths in the bag? We'll have to find out, but I think it is just the fact of this car at this track keeps everyone in a big battle. And let's see what can happen. Charlie Summers getting the run down the Starkey Straight. Woodhatch just staying a little bit to the middle of the track, just not to completely open the door. But in the background, there is a send, though, as Brownlee goes through to second place. Summers hesitates, and Brownlee responds with that one.
That might have been a little bit too deep, though, from Hayden Bramley. This is going to kick everything off behind. Bramley and Summers are going to go side by side once more. Summers looking to the inside as they head their way down into the hairpin here at the right-hander at the Melbourne hairpin. Sam Sanders is now opening the door to potentially come through as well, but they're still side by side ahead in this battle for second position. This could allow Croft and Woodhatch to check out if that gap grows to more than, what, 3/4 of a second, 8/10 of a second. If it gets to that point, you can potentially break the slipstream if they keep on fighting. Hayden Bramley then second position confirmed, trying to break the slipstream of those behind. Sam Sanders now into the mix, one of the more experienced drivers on the grid, courtesy of racing back in 2024 to the outside through the opening corner. Cannot pounce on either of these two who remain side by side. They're giving this to Croft and Woodhatch.
This is a lovely move, though. If we can make this work, as you come through the crane of curves, Summers has that second place. Is there going to be contact as you come through the old hairpin on the outside there? It looks like it's going to be Brownlee who just holds on from Sanders, but in the background, Kendall and Milikangas, they stopped around 2 or 3 times in the last few corners, but it looks like Kendall's just about got that position back. However, that battle is not over for sure, as also Sanders is continuing his run. McClements is trying to get involved, so Milikangas maybe dropping 2 places here. McClements in that green machine on the outside line as we come to Coppers. That isn't going to of work there, but might have to dive in behind the slipstream.
Yeah, Dylan McClements extremely committed there, was the Irishman, to get around the outside of Timu Milikangas. Couldn't quite make that one stick, but I respect the send. I do respect the send. It was giving it a go. It was all four wheels off the circuit, but you know, we're a bit of good racing. We don't worry about track limits. That is for race control to deal with, and there is race control watching over all of this. Charlie Summers has had a moment on the exit of the fog. Yes, that could potentially be a slow down penalty for skipping over the inside. Big moment as well for Timu Milikangas on the outside as he was kind of trying to chop his way through the whole mess.
Yeah, that was not the best place to do it. A couple of drivers down the inside, and also I think it's Loudon and the Yellow Machine trying to get involved as well. Look how close these guys are racing already. First round of the season, Charlie Summers retakes that place on. McClements, they lost a little bit earlier, but huge points lost at the moment. And look at Milikangas trying to follow him through on that inside line, down in towards Redgate. That might actually open up as the 80 is not going to be able to cover him off. He's going to have to stay on that outside line, but McClements keeping his footing as we go down the hill.
Yeah, let's see how this side-by-side continues down into the old hairpin. Let's see if it will continue down into the old hairpin. You betcha it will, as the inside line for Charlie Summers will allow him to at least retain sixth position from McClements. Now Timu Milikangas closing in, potentially looking for a move, but probably getting frustrated by this and seeing it's that important bit, isn't it, Cam, when you're seeing that gap grow between Summers and Kendall for 5th and 6th position, and you're sat here third in the train thinking, right, if I get to the head of this, maybe I can close that down. If not, it's going to be too late, and maybe it is already too late.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate bit with a car that sort of relies on the slipstream for the battles. If you lose it, like we have, as you're saying, that gap ahead of Charlie Summers, you're never really going to regain it with how close the lap times are between all of these drivers. That's almost getting some contact there. The drivers having to back off, following each other so closely in towards that braking zone. But let's see what happens with the battles up ahead, because it looks like Kendall is trying to get some moves down the inside of Ryder in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Looks like he's made that move stick as well as he squeezes on the exit. There's just about enough space given to Ryder. I think there was. Kendall gets that move done as Jonathan Smith is making the move on Sherwood for 11th place in the background.
I believe it's more Jaden Sherwood trying to get past Jonathan Smith. Jaden Sherwood, by the way, has had a great start to this race. Started this race in 20th position, I'll have you know. We're halfway through the opening race of the 2025 season. There's some bump drafting basically happening here for second and third position between Hayden Bramley and Sam Sanders. But Jaden Sherwood up to 12th position after starting from 20th.
Charlie Summers off at Redgate. Didn't see if there was contact on the entry, but on the exit, he is off the track. In a couple of laps, he's gone from second. He's gone down. He's got himself back up. We thought he was going okay, but then he's gone off again just to add insult to injury, and he's down to 10th place, and he's over a second off Morley as well. So that, Morale, I should say. So that is not a good idea.
Solo.
He's already overdoing it, and then just maybe hits the grass as well. Couldn't save it from that point.
Yeah, when you get onto the brakes, this car, it puts so much weight onto the front of the car, and if you're going anywhere near any grass when you're doing it, I wonder if that might have been a little bit clipping the grass on the way through that opening corner. There comes a lovely move from Matt Kendall on Sam Sanders through into third position. Can he actually complete the move? Yes, he can, by picking up the slipstream of Hayden Bramley. Matt Kendall moves through into third position, takes a little bit of defence coming into the fog into S. They go through the left and then the right. But it is still the switch for third going in favour of Matt Kendall. This might be, hilariously, it's not going to be the biggest, don't get me wrong. When you look at averages, I wouldn't be surprised if 2 seconds was above the average winning margin in the UK Formula Ford 1600s for Croft and Woodhatch. We normally do see races contested by well under a second between the top two.
Yeah, no, Henry Moore did check out a couple of times a couple of years ago, but I think you're right. Overall, the battles that we've seen for victory have been absolutely incredible. And Matt Kendall, what a job he's doing so far. He was in that battle with Milikangas a few laps ago and now is batting for second position. We'll have to see how that one works its way through with just 5 minutes to go now in the opening race of the season. Brownlee holding on to second place, Kendall in third, but Sanders in fourth place. As we come down the hill, he's trying to find a place to put his car, but this track is actually quite narrow in places, and you can't just send it. You have to be quite methodical.
Yeah, you really do have to pick your opportunity well. Like I say, you can genuinely get the overtake done on pretty much every corner in this car. The problem is whether you can actually get past and stay ahead, and whether you're not just going to be open into the next corner. It's what makes Donington Park such a very interesting circuit, that you can overtake the final corner and the penultimate one, so you can maybe think, oh, I'll leave it until the last lap, but also you can cover that off quite easily. But it's a circuit that also brings in mistakes, especially in that final final corner. You get a little bit of a nervy moment and a weak left foot, a shaky left foot on the brakes on the final lap of the race. Yeah, you don't want to be leaving it until that. That's where lockups come from. Through the fog, ES once more as we ride on board with Sam Sanders in fourth position. Feeling the defensive move comes in from Hayden Bramley. There comes a look to the inside from Sam Sanders as he tries to send one here on Matt Kendall, who's out wide going into the Melbourne hairpin. Third position could go returning the way of the 34, but the side-by-side is going to take them up to the final corner again.
Yeah, Kendall's still got his nose in, and to be honest, does need to send it down the inside because there's so many cars in the background. He can't try and file in into a single file formation. They go side by side through the final corner, and they'll continue as we come down the Wheatcroft Straight in towards Redgate. It looks like it's still going to be Sanders on that inside line, but Kendall on the outside trying to make something move. Got to look out because Kane Ryder is getting close in that blue machine in the background as well. Kendall chooses to go wide. That's going to open up the door potentially to Ryder, and what was a couple of three-car battles has turned into one long train again.
Yeah, we absolutely love this. This is what makes the UK Formula 4 1600 Esports Championship so exciting. It's what makes British Formula 4 Esports later on in the evening so exciting. One of the most entertaining championships that we've discussed this quite a bit. Normally whilst playing golf, about how exciting this championship has been, and it's probably one of the more exciting ones that we get to commentate on. And this race is once again showing it as McClements does switch over for fifth position. Kane Ryder, though, will look to the inside going into Coppice. Room being given from the pair of them as McClements is trying to send it around the outside and hold it, but Kane Ryder with the up and under might not get any slipstream assistance though.
Yeah, this track is so good. McClemens up the inside, but then it's not over, as you say, because Ryder has the opportunity to get back in. It's such a great flowing track, and that was a lovely move there by the Green Machine as he's able to hold on to that position, because in the background, Milikangas actually is now challenging Ryder, so Ryder can't do anything to defend from that one. Milikangas breaking way later on the outside line. He's given himself the space, but they're going to be squeezed to the outside line. However, the 24 should have the run down in towards the final corner, and Loudon is just watching on, waiting for something to happen, and the move is done there. So unfortunately, Ryder losing 2 places in a couple of corners.
Probably the only driver here who's getting a better perspective of what's going on than you and I can is Brandon Loudon, watching this fight up ahead, and maybe we'll see an opportunity over the final couple of laps here to make a move. 2 laps left to go in the opening race of the season. Remember, after this we'll have the reverse grid race. A random number between 5 and 10 will be pulled, and we'll have our reverse grid pole sitter, which means that all these positions, especially if you're in 6th and 5th, 5th guarantees your reverse grid. 6th is still a pretty high percentage, but not complete, as side by side through the old hairpin sees Hayden Bramley push out Sam Sanders.
Yeah, this is a lovely run up to the outside. Can he make a move? It's a big, bold, brave move up the inside of the brakes here because it is so tight on the apex, but no, the space was given, and therefore Sanders gets the run. He might actually turn this into a move from defence into attack. Up towards Coppice, no, has to attack to defend, stays in that 3rd place for now, but Kendall, I mean, he's not going anywhere, is he? The run as we come down the back straight here, he's going to get the slipstream from the car ahead, but not enough to be able to challenge. So 34 of Sanders just pulls back in line, keeps that position, but these guys, they're going to battle all the way to the finish. We are less than a minute away now, so coming up towards the final lap.
Yeah, we're about to head on to it. Crofton Woodhatch comfortably clear and looks to be sealing another victory in the UK Formula 4 1600 Esports Championship as he leads by 4 seconds over Hayden Bramley. The fight for second position is not so clear as we have Bramley, Sanders, Kendall, McClements, Milikangas, Ryder and Brandon Loudon all fighting over second position. 7 drivers in a big fight to see who's going to be in the runner-up position in the opening race of the season. We begin the final lap and the weaving begins.
That was almost like a celebration weave there, but as you say, in defence, the train of cars as well, about 7 cars we have here batting effectively for second place, and you never know what's going to happen at the front here, so any of them could finish on the podium. Woodhatch has gone by over 4 seconds. It's just the battle for the final 2 places on the podium. The first race of the season, currently held by Bramley and Sanders, but is Kendall going to do anything? We come up the hill. He's actually got a decent run here. He had the inside line last time, up towards McLean's. This time he's not going to be side by side, but needs to work his way up for a move down in towards the Foxy S's unless he wants to go a bit brave.
Whoa, that was always going to happen. There was a little bit too much there. McClements gets pushed out wide. Sam Sanders into the rear end of Hayden Bramley. They were all pushing hard going into McLean's, and the door has potentially opened up here for a couple of other drivers to maybe fight for the podium. Can Milikangas find his way through, or have the gaps grown a little bit too much here? They battle on the run down the Starkey straight. Is there going to be any opportunity, Cam?
This is absolutely crazy. I thought Milakangis was out of this, and now he's looking at a podium. I thought Sanders had a slam dunk podium, and now he's looking at 7th place. It's crazy. Come down to the Melbourne hairpin for the final time. Any big sense?
Yeah, let's see who's going to get to the outside. Sam Sanders looks around the outside of Kane Ryder. The defensive line comes in from Hayden Bramley. Kane Ryder centered in as deep as he can and maybe even tries to make a move on Timo Milakangis. It's not going to work out in favour. It looks as though second position might go the way of Hayden Bramley. One thing that's not up for question, though, is who's going to be victorious here as Crofton Woodhatch departs the final corner to absolutely dominate the opening race of the season. It is Woodhatch on top, leading across the line, though, Hayden Bramley and Matt Kendall. A tough fight for second sees them across the line to join Woodhatch on the podium. There's plenty of other little drag races up towards the line. A bit further down, we drop back to Dovenbow trying to make up a move, but just on the touch on the outside of the top 10. Down the orders, rather top 15, down for Isaac Gay, trying to get that 15th position, but cannot do it. But Crofton Woodhatch can. Sensational drive.
Just checked out, didn't he? He had the control in the first couple of laps and didn't let anyone past him. And then when the battles started coming on lap 3, lap 4, that gave him the gap. He just had that extra little 10th in hand that he needed. And to be honest, what a way to start the season. That's going to give him so much confidence. 5-second margin in this championship is no mean feat in just a 15-minute race. Of course, you have the reverse grid now, so things might change around. He can't lead from the front, but certainly he should be very happy with that one.
I'm sure we'll be excellently pleased and poised for another solid drive. But for the first time this season, it's time to bring out the elusive spinny wheel. Where are we going to end up? It's not going to be 10. It might well be 5. It might lean across to 8. It's just about going to be 8 then. There we go. So the first reverse grid of the season will not be the largest nor the smallest, somewhere just about in between, which probably is about right here, Kev. Either way, Crofton Woodhatch then will have to start the next race from 8th position. We'll see that one in a few moments' time. Crofton Woodhatch, though, is your victor of the first race of the season. Hayden Bramley and Matt Kendall in 2nd and 3rd position, with Timo Milakangis just about missing out on the podium there in 4th. Kane Ryder in 5th position with Sam Sanders there in 6th. Brandon Loudon using VR to get to 7th position, with Charlie Summers having a few moments late on in the race to drop down into 8th position. But we'll start the next race from reverse grid pole. And you know what? Definitely could win from there, but obviously he's got plenty of other drivers behind ready to pounce. Jaden Sherwood was able to rise up to 9th position from 20th on the grid, and Rebecca Morrell is able to round out the top 10 as she brings the 58 across the line in that 10th spot. Jeffrey Decker, then Jamie Hopper, Wan Shi Lin having a couple of problems with a couple of bits of contact along with that a bit of a moment there with Franek Sikorsky. Isaac Gade there in 14th position with Paige Dovenbow in 15th position. Franek Sikorsky in 16th. A lot of question marks over Sikorsky for that one. Mario Ross, Matthew Jordan, Alan Yang, and Jonathan Smith, the top 22 final drivers to deal with. Mark Winthrop and Dylan McClement. Big shame there for McClement. I'm assuming there must have been more damage than we expected from that incident.
Yeah, big shame because he was in a good spaces, batting up towards the front there, but ending at P22. That is not what he would have wanted, but I guess that's how it goes. As you say, any little bit of damage here, the wheels stick out so far. Unfortunately, yeah, you can't really continue on with that one. It's a big part of this race car.
Well, for the first time this season, we are able to catch up with our podium finish. I think we should start with Crofton Woodhatch. Of course, our race winner, the driver that is currently on our screen. Crofton, it was an amazing drive. Again, completely dominant performance. And for one, welcome back. Obviously, great to have you back in the championship. And that was the drive of someone who's looking determined to win this championship. You were absolutely flying in that race.
Yeah, thank you for the welcome back. It took me until round 7 at this track last season to get my first win, and now I've got it in the first race, so it's going a little bit better than it did last season already.
What have you learnt from last season that you're bringing into this one? What are the main kind of talking points for you coming into it?
It's not a lack of pace. I feel like I've got the pace to be up there every race. It's just I mean, I didn't really have to in that race, but staying out of the instance is going to be my big thing this season. I had way too many last season, and it just cost me so many points. I still managed to get that good second half of the season together, but it was pretty much over before that. So
Obviously, we saw some great pace from you back in 2024. We've already seen some great pace from you here in 2025. You know what that means. Well, I've got to talk about the reverse grid now and see what your hopes and expectations are for that. The number is 8, so you'll be starting from 8th position. Could be worse, could be better. What do you make of that, and what is the game plan going into the race?
I'm hoping that the little bit of pace that I seem to have will help me make the overtakes, but it's going to be hard. There's a lot of quick guys. Everyone's the same sort of pace, really. It's going to be hard, but hopefully just try and get back to the podium. Some carnage in front of me maybe that I can avoid, and then see where it goes.
And very quickly before I let you go and get yourself prepared for the second race, obviously in that race you had a little bit of a breakaway there from the group behind. Explain to everyone the relief when you saw the gap grow to those behind.
Yeah, no, it was quite a big relief. I saw Hayden go deep into turn 1, and then the gap was instantly at about 1.5 seconds, and I was like, that's pretty much the limit of where the toe is. So I just need a couple of good laps, and then I eventually got it up to about 2 seconds, and I was pretty much fine from there. But I was still pushing on, trying to go for the fastest lap, because I know that's a point. But when everyone's in tow, it's kind of hard to fight that fastest lap. But I was only about 200ths off of it, so it's not too bad.
Could be worse, and well, we'll see how things go in the next race. I've got fingers crossed there for you, Crofton. Great race in race 1 and a great victory.
Thank you.
There we go. Crofton Woodhatch, our winner for the first race of the season. Time to catch up with second place as Hayden Bramley will be joining us here in the commentary booth for the first time this season. Hayden, great drive into second position. Tight battle with those behind. What do you make of that race for your opening race of 2025?
I mean, it's a great start of the season. Obviously, I would have liked the win, but I did mess up a little bit. I was getting a bit frustrated with Charlie because he was sort of holding us all back. He had plenty of opportunity to go past. So, I mean, I would have had a good chance to fight for the win, but unfortunately I did biff it at T1 a bit, so that kind of got thrown out the window as soon as I went wide. But for the fighting, it's been fantastic, and all the guys at the front are super clean from what I can tell. So it's going to be really exciting to race with them going forwards.
Can you potentially maybe even describe the mentality when you're going side by side through those opening sectors and you're seeing Crofton Woodhatch, for example, getting away? What is going through your mind? Is that frustration, or is it more just focusing on the task at hand?
Well, once you got to the 1.5 range, that's sort of where you start to lose the draft. And Sam let me run a few laps, just clean and tidy, but we did slowly drop off, and it was about a 10th a lap or something, which is the qualifying gap. So after I saw that happening, I decided it wasn't worth the risk to basically put trust in the other people. So that's when I decided, we'll just fight it out.
Now you'll be starting from 7th position in the next race, the reverse grid being 8. Expectations and aspirations coming into that after qualifying and finishing in 2nd. It almost sounds like quite simple from that race, but I'm sure it's not going to be quite simple in this one.
Well, we've got obviously super fast guy behind me, so try to work with him as much as possible. I wouldn't like to let him through, but if it comes to it, I'm not going to fight him. But yeah, just keep my nose clean for the opening few laps. Just make moves when they're easy, when they're simple. It's not worth crash out or losing loads of time.
Well, best of luck in the race coming up, and maybe we'll catch up with you afterwards.
Right. Thank you.
There we go, Hayden Bramley on to the podium. 2nd position in the opening race of the season. Final interview then before we jump into the second race. Matt Kendall joins us here in the interview booth. Definitely got your arms out in that one. There was some great overtakes in that one, Matt. I mean, what did you make of that race? You certainly weren't afraid of putting it side by side.
Well, it was quite stressful, I think it's fair to say. The damage we got pretty early on was not ideal, but I seemed to be in the right place at the right time. I think that's probably my luck for the evening gone now, so we'll see what happens.
Sometimes that is how it goes. We'll keep our hopes up. Obviously, last lap of the race, there was quite a lot of a couple of bits of instant happening in the group. What do you make of all that? How did you kind of guide your way through it and maybe keep yourself calm on that final lap?
To be honest, I just focused on what I could control. There was a big group of cars, and the contact that I thought was coming for a little while, just because we're all so close to the limit of what these cars can do at that point, happened, and I'd already positioned the car in the perfect place to avoid it, so yeah, it shook out very well.
What are you expecting from race 2? Not just from yourself, but from the grid in general, of course. It'll be an 8-car reverse grid. Are you expecting it to kind of be similar to race 1 and a relatively clean battle with the odd little bit here and there, or are you expecting it to be a little bit more chaotic?
Well, it's gonna raise the stakes for the guys who finished at the front quite a bit, so there's not necessarily going to be desperation because we're very early in the championship yet, but I think people are going to be in a hurry, and I think it's going to be important to navigate that carefully.
Well, best of luck in the second race of the evening. I'm sure we're going to be in for an absolute barnstorming race.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cheers, Matt. There we go. Podium have been caught up with here, Cam, and we are almost ready to go for race number 2. Great race, though, and again, a brilliant drive from our race winner, Crofton Woodhatch, and a great podium as well to chat to. I'm sure we'll be having a lot more discussions with them as the season goes on.
Yeah, seemed like a nice group of guys as well. So hopefully we can have a great championship over the course of these 8 rounds. And of course, a couple of races a night, 16 races. Wonder if any of those drivers will be in the booth for 16 times over the course of the season. That'll be Woodhatch's goal. Starting from 8th place, though, it's a little bit of the danger zone, isn't it, on those first couple of laps? We had a very clean lap 1 here, considering it was the first race of the season, to be honest. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen now. Because what happened in that first race was, Woodhatch was able to stay ahead because he's a little bit faster, whereas now it's going to be bunching up from behind, and that's always when it gets a little bit crazy, especially down inside the Melbourne hairpin. Everyone's braking 5 meters later than each other, and then all of a sudden that's when carnage can happen. So it was a good race overall, though. It's just a little bit of a mistake from a couple of drivers that really started to splinter the groups.
Yeah, certainly. So as you can see in the top left of your screen, we are going into a practice. Then we'll be heading into another 15-minute race, and after that, we get to put our hands together and go into the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Let's very quickly, before we get into Formula 4, let's talk about that somewhat, Cam, because of course, superb season last season. Graham Carroll being able to take that championship for Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports. A superb drive, a great battle between himself and Henry Moore, who fell off a little bit in the second half of the season. I'm sure Moore will be coming back very determined this season with a new team as well to take on the title.
Yeah, the grid is looking absolutely crazy. Of course, a couple of teams swapping around and stuff, as you say, but a lot of the drivers have remained, and I'm really looking forward to it because, as we said in the intro of this, the cars on these tracks just produce absolute action. To be honest, it's so fast. The gaps, the margins are so close. I'm really looking forward to see what we can do. Thruxton next round going to be a little bit interesting, I have to say. That one, when I saw it on the calendar, I was thinking that one is going to spice it up just a little bit. But the rest of them, basically the tracks we've had over the last couple of years, they all know what they're going to be doing with that. So they're going to come well prepared, I would say. And whoever sort of comes down top can just find that last little tenth. They're really going to have quite a big margin here.
Yeah, certainly so. Thruxton, by the way, it's great to see on the calendar. Obviously, that is my local, literally 20 minutes from my house. It is chaos. If you've never seen Thruxton raced before, I'm sure most of us have, but I'm sure there's a couple of people out there that haven't seen it be raced. Obviously, it's fairly new to the iRacing platform, relatively speaking. It will be entertaining. It is. If you think the pack racing's pretty big round here, you wait till next week.
Yeah, there's basically like 3 actual corners that you have to really consider about on that track. The rest are just sort of kinks and curves and flat out action. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous, especially the braking in towards the fun chicane. It's very tight, so you never know what is going to happen nonetheless. But we go back into the practice session, a couple minutes remaining. Lovely 1:20 p.m. in the afternoon. 15th of May, certainly not what we have in the last couple of days here in the UK, but it is lovely weather out there on the track for these drivers.
Yeah, of course, taking it on as the season basically was unfolding IRL. Take it. This season will be happening in the summer, or going spring, summer, maybe a little bit of autumn. Not in the freezing cold temperatures. It's not like cold outside. Still warm enough for a round of golf camp.
Certainly is. Oh, it's Charlie. I mean, he's having a great evening, to be honest. Hopefully he can solve that one. But yes, a round of golf would be rather nice in these conditions. But nevertheless, you and me, we played on like the 22nd of December or something silly. So we're certainly hard nuts when it comes to that.
We've played at -5. It's fine. This is nothing. No, let's bring everything back on to the Formula Ford conversation and away from golf and away from British Formula 4 Esports. We're talking about that a little bit later on in the evening, along with all the prizes up for offer and all the drivers that we focused on, the new teams, all this, that, and the other. Let's refocus our attention here on the Formula Ford. So, Crofton would actually be starting this race from 8th position. We'll be wondering as to whether he can rise his way up the order, and I don't think that will necessarily be the game plan. I think we'll be keeping it out of trouble. It's kind of what we were saying in the interview, seeing how things unfold. There is Crofton Woodhatch on your screen. I think one of the main ones, though, to be looking at would be that of course, Franek Sikorsky. Can he work his way up the order? Drivers like that that maybe were way out of position. Of course, Charlie Summers, Dylan McClements as well, late on in the race, being dropped down the order. Can they work their way back through?
Yes, Sikorsky is actually an interesting one because in the prototype challenge that we did a couple of months ago now in the summer, he was unbelievably fast in the LMP3 category. He started in the AMs, then got moved to the pros because he was just too fast. But similarly to what we saw in the race earlier a few minutes ago, unfortunately made a couple of mistakes there, ended up not coming out with the championship, but in terms of speed was probably the fastest driver in that car. Hopefully it can, reign over into this Formula Ford as well as the season progresses, because that was just one race at 16. Hopefully it's not going to ruin his championship, but does need to get that back on track, because of course if you're outside the reverse grid, you start where you finished, and therefore if you have a bad race 1 of the night, race 2 always is that little bit more tricky.
Yeah, and we also have drop round to speak of, but we'll deal with that as the season unfolds. But Frank Sikorsky, the problem with that is you can say, oh yeah, well there's a drop round to deal with. So if I have a bad round to start out the season, then I guess it's not too bad. That means then your rest of your season has to be absolutely perfect. So it's not ideal all the way around. Let's take a look then at the starting grid for the second race of the season, the second race of the evening here. Charlie Summers on reverse grid pole position with Brandon Loudon in second position. Sam Sanders, Kane Ryder, Timo Miller-Kangas and Matt Kendall rounding out row 3. Hayden Bramley, the 7 of those all involved in the fight for 7th position. Way clear of everyone was Crofton Woodhatch, able to take victory in that opening race. They're all in position and ready to go for the opening for the second race of the season, and we are racing down into the first corner. A very brief start there as Charlie Summers will try and lead off from pole position. Brandon Loudon in second position, trying to attack for the race lead, looks to the left hand side. Can he get all the way around the outside here at the opening corner? I don't believe he can. Charlie Summers might just about be able to hang on, but it is a good launch off of that first corner here down into the Craner curves as Brandon Loudon's trying to take over the race lead.
He certainly is as he gets the run in that yellow machine. He's going to the outside for the old hairpin though, so Summers breaks later. Loudon backs out of that one. There's also a move for Kendall up into 4th place. Sent it down the inside of Kane Ryder as we come up the hill, but now 3rd place. Sam Sanders is trying to think about making a move to the outside. We come up towards McLean's. Unfortunately for Loudon, he thought he might be in the lead. He might be down to 3rd place. We'll have to see what Sanders can do all the way around the outside. He holds onto it, almost contacts as he pushed onto the grass.
Yeah, Sanders out just a touch wide. Couple of spinners in the background. Ali Yang, Franek Sikorsky dropping down the order a little bit. Timo Miller-Kangas here dropping down to the 7th position as Hayden Bramley has worked up from 7th into, or worked back into 6th position rather. Dropping back down the order just a touch. Miller-Kangas. Crofton Woodhatch trying to keep out of trouble has dropped down into 9th position as the fight for the race lead still sees Charlie Summers leading from Brandon Loudon, Sam Sanders and Matt Kendall. Better drive off though from Sanders and a better one from Kendall.
Yeah, Kendall was quick through the Faulty S's all of the first race, but for now, let's see. Sam Sanders gets up into 2nd place massively later on the brakes. Loudon loses 2 places because Kendall follows him through. Terrible run through the S's there. And, I say that, Loudon's actually kept himself on the inside in towards the final corner. That is going to be a nice side-by-side move, and Kendall's going to have to back out of that one. I think he's got front rear to rear wheel there as he comes down the straight now, and unfortunately, it's into 4th place after thinking about him being up in towards 2nd. In the background, though, we are seeing a little bit of a battle there with Miller-Kangas getting himself up a position. Also, Woodhatch regaining that 8th place where he started.
Yep, trying to get past Rebecca Morel at the opening corner out wide. Sam Sanders there as they go through Redgate, back into line, but in 5th position. Dropping back into the clutches of Team Milikangas as 2nd position goes side by side down the hill. Charlie Summers checking out, 0.6 of a second, he is clear. Matt Kendall with a big move down the inside. He was confident about his pace comparatively to Charlie Summers in the previous race, as a spin in the background from Rebecca Morel. Dropping down the order, unfortunately a bit of a spin going into the old hairpin. Can Matt Kendall close down on our race leader though?
Yeah, Kendall's looking so fast. Oh, what has happened there? Ryder's gone off. A little bit of a mix-up coming in towards McLean's, and unfortunately, the driver is looking so good there in the first couple laps. He's basically going to drop to the back of the pack, and that has really killed his race. There's no way he's coming back from that one.
Yeah, certainly so. It's just a bit of an issue going into McLean's. It probably won't be the last one of this race. We'll probably get one on the last lap of the race if we did in the previous one. One thing to note, by the way, if you are a Crofton Woodhatch fan or anyone else down the order that might be working their way through the order, something to have noted from the previous 2 seasons that myself and Cam Roger have most certainly observed here is that if you are battling for the championship and you haven't made up a whole host of positions in the opening lap of the race, don't worry about it. Mark Fletcher and Henry Moore, the 2 drivers who have won the championships in the previous 2 years, were both notably not ridiculously fast at making their way through the order in the first grid race. They were a lot more patient, and it almost always worked.
That's because the race is chaotic, and if you're overly aggressive, you try and force something to happen. Unfortunately, you generally force a move and you make a mistake, or you get involved in a silly battle that eventually results in a spin. Milikangas there looking down the inside of Loudon, trying to make the move. That's just going to slow him down. And Crofton Woodhatch here, who's now into 6th position, slowly working his way forward from 8th, dropped down to 9th, and now regained 3 places, is just watching on, hoping there's going to be a 2-car spin in front of him. Milikangas keeps his nose up the inside, but just has to go quite slow actually, so Woodhatch is going to get the run here as we come up the straight. This is going to be the outside through the kinks, but that'll turn to the inside for McLean's, which is such a great overtaking opportunity. He's keeping himself there, opening up the opportunity to dive down the inside, gets that 5th position stuck. Now he can follow Loudon.
Great move there from Crofton Woodhatch. Milikangas looks to the inside as they go up the hill into Coppice. Dylan McClements has worked his way up into 13th position. The Irishman up the order. Unfortunately, retirements, or at least returns to the pit lane for Jonathan Smith, Mario Russ, and unfortunately also Rebecca Morel. So a bit of drama there. Obviously, Morel having that spin going through the old hairpin. I wonder if there's a little bit more to it. Well, there's your answer.
Ooh, definitely was contact there on that inside. Such a difficult corner then, because it's called the old hairpin. It's just definitely not a hairpin. As we go to Kendall, he's looking fast tonight, and there was a little bit of a gap to Charlie Summers. They've caught him up, and now Kendall is going for the lead. It's going to be an outside in towards the final corner. That is not necessarily the best place to make the overtake. He's gone a little bit wide, but he is showing Charlie Summers that it is going to be an easy race victory for him.
Certainly not. That gap has closed all the way down. Matt Kendall's was confident in his pace in the interview, and I can understand why. Here comes a look to the inside going into Redgate. Is he going to complete the move? Deep into the first corner goes Matt Kendall, and up into the race lead. Charlie Summers, I think, might have handed that a little bit to him, leaving the door open and not forcing the issue. Jumping into the slipstream of Matt Kendall and maybe thinking, right, okay, if you're this quick at the moment, then let's use your slipstream to pull away from that whole group behind.
And this is after Morel spun. There's further incidents. There's Jonathan Smith. I noticed, yeah, he was down towards the back, and I wonder who was involved. Was
Mario Russ.
Maybe? Yeah, it was the driver involved in that one. So come back to live pictures. Oh, is that Woodhatch making some contact? It is. Your current championship leader just after the first race, but thinking he's going to make a move now, loses 3 places basically, and drops back there in that battle. So that just shows you how for a championship contender, you've got to be careful with these battles in the reverse grid race.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there with Brandon Loudon trying to make the race come to him. Sometimes that does work. Sometimes maybe it is better to be patient. Brandon Loudon maybe not quite realising there was a car to his outside, which is fun for VR, but that's fine. We ride on board with Crofton Woodhatch and see the facial expression relatively unchanged. That's it. Most important bit. Don't let the red mist take over, as Hayden Bramley has taken over 4th position. There comes a big send to the inside from Team Milikangas.
And this could be a 3-car move for Woodhatch, not quite 2 cars. So he gets past Bramley and Loudon, but Milikangas said that was way too deep in towards the hairpin. Pushes Bramley wide with some contact, and now Woodhatch on that outside line actually makes a little bit of a mistake, and unfortunately Bramley's going to get past, and maybe Loudon as well. These guys are letting the top 3 get away as well. Woodhatch is going to slide to that inside line, and he's going to get his nose up the inside in towards Redgate. Very tight though, not much space given. He's going to have to keep it tight there as he comes down the hill, uses as much road as he can, but this is a fight that's sort of losing him time up towards Milikangas, who definitely may get a penalty from that.
Absolutely nothing between the pair of them as they work their way down the hill. Bramley on the left-hand side, Woodhatch on the right, leaving it just about down the inside through the old hairpin. Bramley retakes over 5th position onto the rear end of Woodhatch's Brandon Loudon. The two of them as they work their way up towards the Schwantz curve. Nose to tail. The outside coming in as Jamie Hopper's trying to send one through. Jaden Sherwood, who had up so many positions in the previous race, be right on board with Hopper now. Seeing the side-by-side ahead between Woodhatch and Bramley that is failing to go single file again.
Yeah, they're just not able to do that at the moment. Too many cars in one single space. As Woodhatch says, he actually slowing down on purpose. Maybe that slowed Loudon down, so Hopper is going to get the move. Maybe not, because Loudon brakes so late. Woodhatch over the gravel to go through the Foxy S's. This is not working out how he would have wanted. He could have been up into 4th place at one point. Now he's potentially going to be into 10th and even 11th place as he drops down.
Yeah, he definitely would have got a slow down there. Now the red mist might be taking over. He's got to calm down and let the race come to him. It's so easy to say and so hard to do. You can feel it slipping through his fingers ever so slightly after a bit of contact there with Brandon Loudon. That's then kind of escalated into a couple of moments. Has now pushed him down into 11th position. And it does seem as though you say about the championship leader being Crofton Woodard. Well, at the moment, it's almost certainly Matt Kendall after an excellent start to the season with the podium, and now in the race lead, looking at pretty much a dead cert for another podium. Is he right on board with Wan Shi Lin, of course, who now goes side by side and works his way past Jamie Hopper after a mistake at T1.
Yeah, what a championship this is. You can't have any sort of script. It gets changed every single lap, every single corner almost, it feels like, with these battles. It's crazy. As we also have the battle for the lead. It's really 3 cars now up towards the front. It's amazing to see what we could get in this Formula 4 championship. And we still have a good few laps left to decide who is going to be victorious. Matt Kendall, the speed that he's shown tonight, can certainly hold on, but Summers and Sanders are coming for him as he comes down the straight with just under 6 to go.
Certainly so. This is going to be a very interesting battle. I think with how Charlie Summers left the door open slightly down at T1 at Redgate to allow Matt Kendall to take the race lead, might be a little bit more patient as this race goes on, and maybe we'll try something late in the race. But that might actually change the whole group dynamic if Team Milikangas is closing up to this group, because then they might feel, well, we actually kind of have to do something to try and get through if someone else is going to be joining the fight. Milikangas has been able to break away from that group, which is Hayden Bramley, Brandon Loudon, Sherwood, then of course Lynn, Hopper and Woodhatch, and a little bit of a gap back to Frank Sikorsky, who's rise up to 11th position at least.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Sikorsky making some moves. Oh, Lynn and Hopper, they've had a collision on the corner. That's a terrible reversing manoeuvre onto the racing line. He did stop in the end, but wow, that is not what you want to see, especially in a blind off-camber corner. And unfortunately, they've dropped down. So Sikorsky is now up into 9th place after that, and he's really now fighting towards the top 10. The issue is he's got over a second to Woodhatch, and then another over a second up to Sherwood.
Yeah, there is the moment. So Hopper into the rear end of Wan Shi Lin, the two of them getting linked together. Reverse gear is found, and nearly the rest of the field was as well. But thankfully, we avoided that one. As here's the look. Pretty obvious, that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, they were both moving around a bit on the braking side, but that was just not on, was it? It's Kendall up the inside and to defend. Charlie Summers to the outside. Now this is going to open the door for Sanders to get involved. So Summers thinking he had the lead, but now it's actually going to be Sanders battling for that as we come down in towards the Foxy S's. To the outside line is going to be Kendall's in the middle of the road, trying to defend from this one. He's been so fast through the Foxy S's, but he will be slower, having to take that defensive line that could open up the door down in towards the Melbourne hairpin. Sanders, is he going to be calm, or is he going to have a big send to the inside? Charlie Summers here, sitting on the back of this now, trying to wait for his move.
There'll be still 3 or so laps left to go. There's plenty of time. The more they fight, though, the danger is they'll be bringing basically the rest of the field into it. Milikangas is probably locked on to being in this podium fight. He's not got too much of a margin. He's definitely getting slipstream from the trio now. Problem is, the more they fight, the more Hayden Bramley closes in, the more Brandon Loudon closes in, the more Jaden Sherwood will have that chance to close in, and the more this group will grow by their battling. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sat here as a fan of racing, as a commentator, and as someone who's looking for a nice bit of entertainment here on a Wednesday night. I'll take it, don't get me wrong. As a driver, they're like, absolutely not. That is not what we want at all. They want this to be as calm and separated as possible.
Yeah, you got to think the long game sometimes. As you're saying, Milikangas is going to be there, and these guys probably don't know the fact that Milikangas might actually, I guess, maybe get some sort of penalty depending on what happens with the stewards from previous as well. But that is not going to matter at this moment in time. They're just going to battle for the positions that they have on the track with these track positions as we get to less than 3 minutes to go in this race. Kendall has been wide a couple of times so far. He's feeling the pressure. Sanders breaks much later up in towards Coppice. This is a great battle to the front.
It's so, it almost looks so easy. Sat here from TV cam, wide FOV, nice and easy to see exactly where everything is. You've got to think that they're sat, like, you know, quite a lot of us, I'm sure, sitting here watching this broadcast, have driven a few laps in iRacing. You know, when you're sat in there, it's almost impossible to work out where the front end of your car is. And yet in this, you have to have such knowledge as to how wide this vehicle is. Otherwise, you're, you know, there is going to be contact there. Driving beautifully around Donington Park, getting ready for the penultimate lap of this second race of the season.
Certainly is a couple of moves. Jordan gets Sikorsky for P9. Deckham Clements as well, having a huge battle for P11. But for the lead, less than 2 minutes to go now. Sanders to the outside, up towards Redgate. This is going to be a move to slow down Kendall. Having said that, Kendall's way slow. This might be the move on the outside for Sanders to get up in towards second place. He's trying it, he's thinking about it, but Kendall holds on strong.
Sam Sanders, someone who we caught up with quite a few times last season, looking for that victory in the second race of this season. Here we go side by side down the hill. Matt Kendall, who we caught up with in the previous race, trying to at least hold on for the victory, trying to keep Sam Sanders at bay. We ride on board with Sanders now, as you can see, through the dirt of the cockpit. Here comes the rise up the hill, the inside line. They go through the Schwantz curve of the left. The inside line, though, for McLean's. Could this be the move for Sanders?
Certainly could be, because he's going to have the inside line to the next corner. Charlie Summers tries to get the run, thinks about it 3 wide. Kendall on that outside line. Is he going to back out and come into the slipstream just about? Maybe, yes, Sanders holds on. But look at Milikangas now as well. He's well involved in this. He can easily win this race if things work out with just one final lap to come after this one. Side by side in towards the braking zone. Kendall comes back and retakes the lead.
Such control of the brake pedal there from Matt Kendall to keep ahead of Sam Sanders in such a tricky braking zone. So short and so committed into there. So easy to lose the rear end. Now Charlie Summers is finding his opportunity to work his way into this battle. And it's going to be a 4-way fight, potentially even a 5-way fight on the final lap of the race as Hayden Bramley is into the mix. Matt Kendall is our race leader with 20-odd seconds left to go in the race. We're about to come through the final corner. The white flag is about to be raised as the final lap here at Donington Park is about to begin.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. In the back, we've got Sherwood and Woodhatch as well. Woodhatch is getting 2 seconds on these guys, subject to the battle that we are seeing over the course of the last few laps. Kendall leads Sanders as we come down the hill for the final time of asking. Can Charlie Summers do anything to regain that position he had for so long, leading this race? He's got a huge run down the hill. This is not the position to overtake. This is the position to set yourself up for a move in towards McLean's. Have a clean run through here. Kendall goes a little bit wide, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, the old hairpin then ticked off. Opportunities awaiting here at McLean's and Coppice. Then into the fog at ES, the Melbourne hairpin and Goddard's. All potential overtaking opportunities. The first one is being taken by Sam Sanders to the outside as they go their way through McLean's. Can he complete the move? Fantastic stuff there from Sam Sanders to get ahead of Matt Kendall. Bit of contact there as Charlie Summers was trying to get to the outside of Kendall as they were working their way through Coppice. It's allowed Timu Milikangas and Hayden Bramley to both come through.
Unbelievable move there by the 34. He's got the lead. Just a couple of corners to go. This is the first break zone. Huge send to the outside for Milikangas. Tries to get second place. He's going to slow them all down. It's now a 2-way fight for this race victory. Kendall goes to the outside while we are 3 wide in the background. Summers down the inside in towards the hairpin.
Yeah, it's all starting to kick off. Like you say, Summers is to the inside. The battle for the race lead sees Sanders come through and taking over the race lead with just a corner left to go. Kendall in second. Summers has taken over third position. It was a top 3 as they started the lap. Will it be the top 3 as they end? Milikangas with a big send for third position, and he's going to spin Summers around. Timu Milikangas is going to come through the final corner in third, but Sam Sanders is going to take the second victory of the season. What a fantastic race it was to see Sanders ahead of Kendall. Milikangas with a big question mark over that podium, and Charlie Summers would come across the line in 5th with Brandon Loudon just about slotting ahead in that 4th position. Cameron, Roger, what do you make of that final lap?
That was absolute carnage. Firstly, the move from Sanders round the outside of McLean's there was absolutely gorgeous. And absolutely deserving of the race victory. Kendall, such a shame. He had the speed to win this race, but so did Sanders. That's a good job in second place. But for Milikangas, two times there, making some contact in that race. I think he might have a couple of penalties coming his way, and I don't think he's going to have that race result on paper when we get to Thruxton in a couple of weeks' time. So this is the first bit. This is all good for now, but as we get the run up towards the final corner, you're also seeing Brownlee. He's the green car in the background. He's just observing this at the moment. He's going to get involved, which is such a shame for him as well. A late move to the inside. Summers had that one covered off, but just a bit of contact on the back, and unfortunately Brownlee adding insult to injury for Summers there.
And the only thing you could say is maybe that Summers was moving back over to the right-hand side ever so slightly before as Milikangas was trying to get to the inside. But it is going to be a tricky one for him to argue with the stewards there for Team Milikangas. And I understand it's hard racing, don't get me wrong, nothing intentional in that. Just hard racing, and sometimes how it goes. Here's a look at the provisional, shall we say, results here from the second race of the season. Sam Sanders, Matt Kendall and Team Milikangas onto the podium with Brandon Loudon in fourth position. Charlie Summers in fifth with Hayden Bramley and Jaden Sherwood having a fight with Crofton Woodhatch there for seventh position and just about coming on top by 12 thousandths of a second. Matthew Jordan and Frederik Sikorsky round out the top 10. So Sikorsky did get at least one top 10 on the night. Dylan McClements up from the rear end of the field into 11th position with Jeffrey Decker in 12th, Isaac Gade, Alan Yang, and then of course Mark Vinter, and we've got Kane Runner, Wan Chi Lin down to 17th position, and Jamie Hopper in 18th. Retirement for Paige Dovenbow and for Rebecca Morell. I think they might have actually still been circulating, but I'm pretty sure they had quite a lot of damage on the car. Certainly a lot of damage for Mario Rass and for Jonathan Smith after their contact and into the barrier, avoiding Rebecca Morell early in that race. So it's time to catch up with our podium, and of course, first of the three, we should probably catch up with Sam Sanders, who of course is our race winner. Sam, hello, welcome. What do you make of that race? That was absolutely incredible.
Hello both. Yeah, good to see you again. That was a great race. Really enjoyed that. I've got a decent amount of experience racing with Matt and Charlie from the Club 100 series, and it was great to race with both of them again. Lots of respect, and yeah, really nice. Just a great battle together. I'm really happy to come away with the win.
And it was a win that was gathered in quite a spectacular way. Last lap outside, going through McLean's, absolutely incredible. What do you make of that one? What was your heart rate at that point?
Yeah, it was a bit tight, especially after pretty much throwing it all the way in the first race in a same corner. But I tried it up the inside of Matt the lap before, and he held it around the outside. And so I thought, I'll try it around the outside if that works. And just happy it worked, but really pleased with the battle. Lots of respect shown, and yeah, really happy to start the season off like this.
Next time we'll be heading to Thruxton, which will be a big slipstream affair, I'm sure. What are you expecting from there? What are your potential chances? Is it a track you like? Is it a track that doesn't matter whether you like it or hate it because it's going to be a big pack race?
Yeah, we had a bit of experience last year with Silverstone to know what it's going to be like 3, 4, 5 wide. So it's going to be good fun. Hopefully there's just a little bit more room at Thruxton to kind of string everybody out with some more corners. But I'd be lying if I wasn't nervous. It's not going to be a bit of a pack race, but I think we've shown that we can scrap well, and so yeah, really pleased with the preparation I put in ahead of the season, and yeah, I think hopefully can carry some of the momentum forward from today.
At a bare minimum, it will be exciting. We'll see you then, Sam. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
There we go. Sam Sanders, of course, back onto the podium here in the Formula 4 UK 1600s. Next up, speaking of back on the podium this evening, Matt Kendall. Hello, welcome. Definitely the championship leader after that performance. Excellent drive to second position. I'm sure, the race victory was there, but it's just sometimes how it goes. What do you make of that race?
Oh, it's cracking. Sam did a really great move, and I had one chance, and I just grabbed the rear. So yeah, that's how it goes. But I'm very happy to be racing in this company the way I'm racing tonight. Decided to actually get the elbows out in an intelligent way and do something. So I'm happy with that.
We saw some great moves, obviously from yourself and from Sam as well. But one particularly from you that caught my attention was basically around the outside on the brakes into the Fog ES, the chicane there to go onto the Grand Prix loop. It seems like you've got really good control of the brake pedal. Is that what you're kind of feeling? That maybe you've got more control of the brake pedal than some of the other drivers on the field? Because it seemed like you were very confident with some of your moves that the car wasn't going to be slipped out of your control.
Yeah, I think part of that is I spent a long time racing with stock Logitech pedals. So now that I'm on a load cell, I've got a pretty comfortable feel of how the pedal will react in any sort of scenario. So yeah, I'd say I've probably got a bit of an advantage on the brakes. Sometimes that leads me wrong because I then think, oh, I can carry all the speed in here, and then the exit goes in the bin. So.
Well, that is sometimes how it goes. Matt, congratulations on a couple of podiums this evening, and our chance to be heading into Thruxton. Best of luck. We'll see you in a week.
Cool. See you then. Thanks.
There we go. Matt Candle onto the podium once more. Final driver to catch up with is Teemu Miller-Kangas after a troublesome final corner. Let's talk about that briefly. Teemu, what do you make of that final turn and what happened in that instant with yourself and Charlie Summers?
I don't know. I was committed to the move, and he moved to the left to defend the position, and I don't know. I just had no time to react as I was committed for the move already. But I don't know. We'll see what the others has to say about this.
Well, let's talk through your evening then. Positives, negatives. How do you feel about making your debut here in the Formula Fords? Obviously, you're someone that we know has got a lot of experience elsewhere in the world of sim racing. What have you made of this evening of racing?
Yeah, it was really fun evening. The racing with these cars is really good and fun, and you can be really close to each other, and yeah. Happy that I survived both races in somewhat good positions, so looking forward to Thruxton.
Yeah, sometimes that is all you can ask for in a car like this and in the racing style like this. What are you expecting from yourself this season? Are you expecting to start contending for that championship? You've certainly got the pace for it.
Yeah, I had no idea before this evening. I haven't done this car before this event, so I had no clue that if I'm competitive or not, but looks fine, so we'll try to fight for the championship, of course.
Well, Teemu, best of luck when we see you in a week's time in Thruxton.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. That's our podium caught up with, at least provisionally, from the second race of the evening. We are almost ready to go as we prepare ourselves for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, which will be coming up in a few moments' time. It is finally time to return to the British Formula 4 Esports Championship as we get ready to go for race number 1 of 2025. As it was last year, as it was the year before, it's myself, Lewis McGlade. It is Cameron Roger alongside as we are ready to go racing in one of esports' most entertaining championships. Let's talk you through the lineup for the evening and what we're expecting to go through. Of course, we'll be starting with qualifying, which will be a lone session. They'll do 4 laps, and then we'll have 2 25-minute races coming up a little bit later on. And of course, that reverse grid race to deal with, which is always going to be extremely exciting and potentially even very, very difficult for the drivers to work their way through. Cam, what have you made of the Formula 4s? What are we expecting here from the Formula 4s?
Yeah, of course, the car is even quicker. So let's see how this one goes. Slightly longer races as well. And to be honest, I'm expecting even closer fields of drivers. They've known this car for a couple of years now. They've got all the experience. They know the tracks, and especially here at Donington Park is generally one of the best races, just like what we saw with the Formula Fords. Has such flow to it. You're able to keep there in the slipstream. You have a lot of straight line, but then you have the tight corners where you can send it down the inside. I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do, and also really just who's going to come out on top, because they've got some big prizes to fight for.
Yeah, indeed. You can see all that cash prize up there for the teams championship, $5,000 for the teams championship, 2.5 for winning, 1.5 for second place, and then 1K for winning, finishing in third. And you can see the prizes below that. Of course, the base performance simulator prize for the top 3 teams, as we've had for the previous couple of seasons. Excellent prize to get into that single-seater simulator they've got at base performance. Again, that's an amazing thing that even the highest level of motorsport, what they're looking at, they go into those kind of simulators, so that's great. Of course, the winning team as well receives 4 hospitality tickets to a British Formula 4 Championship round next year for their choice, which is always excellent. I'm sure you might even see me and Cam at one of them. Who knows? And new for the season, the pole position award presented by Base Performance Simulator. The driver with the most pole positions in the season wins a BPS FW1 steering wheel and a BPS direct drive as well. So that's fun, that's cool, that's exciting. And Cam, we're ready to go for this season. We've got an exciting grid. We are ready to go with this grid. There are a lot of returning names. There's a few new names in there as well. A lot of highlights in there. A lot of teams that we're looking at as maybe being the favourites to go on and win the teams championship. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time. What are you making of the entry list ahead of you?
Interesting to see Graham Carroll, of course, returning champion, but not returning to the grid. He's a reserve driver for this team, Scuderia Ferrari Esports, which is very interesting. So the #1 car not out there, which leaves open the title for someone else. Maybe is Henry Moore, who gave such a good run for Guild last year, of course, moving teams this year. In general, though, a lot of drivers are returning, and therefore they have a lot of the experience. We've got basically half the grid is new drivers though as well, so I'm very excited to see what they can do. But one thing is certain is a lot of the teams remain the same, so a lot of the knowledge within those organizations will be passed on to these new drivers.
So we're in qualifying here already, and we are doing battle once again for pole position, the BPS pole position, which they're all fighting for. Henry Moore is currently the driver in control of that. You say moving teams, it's kind of one of those ones, an interesting thing that's happened behind the scenes. Guild are no longer an esports team, and basically the team that he is a part of in this championship, Team Bennick, is still run by the same team manager in Seb Hawkins that he had last season. He's still got Remy Gilbert, who was a Guild driver last season. They're also partnered with Drive Lounge Racing. Leo Brown, also a teammate last season. So as much as it's a different team, it's the same team. A home away from home. We also have the return of Shoma Shintani, who of course finished runner-up in the Formula Fords to Mark Fletcher last season. Unfortunately, we won't see Mark Fletcher out on the grid, but we do get to see Shoma Shintani take the circuit. Definitely a driver to keep an eye on for the Williams Sim Racing Academy team.
Absolutely, because not only is he fast, but he's unbelievably aggressive as well. And in a championship like this, you certainly have to do that. And as the first few qualifying laps come in, he's up there in 5th place as well, in the number 28. So definitely has some speed once moving up into this car as well. Quite a bit different to the Formula Ford that you just seen. Namely, it actually has some grip and downforce. Slick tyres, has the wings, and in general, it's just a much faster car. We're doing about 10 seconds lap faster than the Formula Fords. But once again, the lap times remain close. Half a second covering those top 13 that we can see. And I'm sure that's just going to get tighter as the session progresses.
Yeah, indeed. Shoma Shintani will pull off the line. Will then get a better run out through the final corner. And Shintani, who is, and this is almost close because obviously he's not able to score points for the Williams team. He's effectively his own single car team. He is the highest I-rated driver on the grid. He's just below 10k. I think he was over 10k not too long ago, but then clearly got involved in a couple of incidents in the race. We ride on board with Danny Moreno. You might recognise livery elsewhere if you've seen sim racing around. Of course, TC Esports. Thibaut Courtois' team. If you don't know who Thibaut Courtois is, go and watch some football. Goodness me.
Yeah, certainly one of the best goalkeepers of the last 10 years or so, and coming into esports, which I think is just absolutely awesome, to be honest. He's obviously got the passion for the gaming, especially back during COVID. He got involved in a lot of those sort of real life driver races. Even though he's not a driver, he was getting involved being a footballer, and it's great to see, of course, making a team and bringing them to this championship. And currently Moreno up into 3rd place, not doing so bad. E. Smith up into 6th place, with Chadwick up into 8th.
Yeah, indeed. Chadwick, who you said about showing some timing, but could be a bit aggressive. Will Chadwick did have a few results. I think he's actually, I don't know this for sure, so I'm not going to say it too much. Of course, yeah, mate, and all that. I do think he was the highest penalised driver last season. At least when I was going through the results, he was the one that I had to move around the results by far the most. So read into that what you will. His qualifying session, I think, might have come to a close as he has returned to the pit lane. Do remember they have a limited number of laps that they could do. Coca Pau goes up into 8th position ahead of Chadwick.
Yes, Chadwick certainly got involved in 1 or 2 incidents last year, but he also was victorious a couple of times as well. So he had the speed, just needs to keep it a little bit more clean, because to be honest, he really was involved in general in that sort of top, let's say 5 or whatever battle last season for quite a while. Maybe not necessarily going for the championship, but at least going for one of the top positions. But then, unfortunately, just fell off as the season progressed. So let's see how this one goes. 2 and a bit minutes remain. Some drivers coming back in after already completing their laps, because obviously they're lap limited despite the time. As Tolashi goes up into 5th.
Yeah, here is Leo Brown, of course, someone who was driving for Guild last season, now drives for Drive Lounge Racing. Of course, Drive Lounge, someone that we've been pretty close with Drive Lounge, obviously here Motorsports UK, one of the recognised simulator studios for you to go and take part in. They've got a couple around the UK, of course, one in Norfolk and then one now in London, not too far away from White City as well, in the Westfield Shopping Centre. Leo Brown then goes up into 6th position, 3rd position, I can read, as Henry Moore has returned to pit lane. Will Refford goes up into 8th position. Deanna Perez now behind the ROX Red Bull Racing Esports team, a movement to support females in the World Sim Racing, and of course in sports in general. They do back teams in motorsport as well.
Absolutely, and it's a great initiative with that one. Let's see what they can do over the course of the season. It's going to be a very, very competitive grid to get up inside the top 10. As you see, just a quarter of a second covering the top 10 drivers. But if you can get yourself in there, then we can certainly see how that one can work. I've just seen it, of course, as well. Matt Caruana, one of the faster drivers, race winner in this championship. He's also a little bit further down than he would have wanted. P15, which is pretty crazy to see a driver of that caliber down there. But that is just how tight it is in this championship, as Mia Rose goes up into 19th. What can Perez do out of the final corner? Currently sat there in P25 up towards the line. Is there going to be any improvement? No, stays there in P25.
Yeah, indeed. Matt Caruana, actually a real good note. He had the joint most victories last season of any driver. So curious to see that. I've said about some of the highest I-rated drivers. I think Alexander Strobel might be potentially one of the lower ones here for Scorpio Esports, and still not that far off the pace. That is how tight this field is. That is how hard everyone has practiced coming into this round, the opening round of this championship. Alexander Strobel will come through the final corner. The seconds are ticking away. It's not going to challenge for pole position, going to challenge for a better one though. No, 21st position it remains, probably getting some last minute practice as well. So it does mean the first base performance simulator pole position will go the way of Henry Moore. And that, to be fair, I don't think is a major shock. He's been superb last season, now driving for the Bennett team and looking strong.
Absolutely. He started where he left off, to be honest. I would say, yeah, number one driver, really. Number one contender for the championship, but there is plenty of races, and here's how they line up for the first one.
So Henry Moore will start for Team Bennett on pole position alongside Pablo Espes in second spot for Williams Sim Racing. Leo Brown will start from third for Drive Lounge Racing, with Danny Moreno for TC Esports there in fourth position. G2 Esports have Will Refford up there in fifth position, with Remy Gilbert for Team Bennett, the first of the repeat teams effectively in that top six. Mensa Racing, driven by us, it's Stanley Deslandis on a return to the championship in seventh position. position. Then we've got TC Esports' Augustin Tolashi there in 8th position. Shomi Shintani just 9th position on his debut in the championship. Giles Genet in 10th position with Iggy Smith and Rope Kirkpapp in there in 12th position. Connor Muir in 13th. Will Chadwick down in 14th position for the Hymo setups by EMM. Matt Caruana, his teammate, starting from 15th position. Bit of a disappointment for Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team. Jonathan Riley and Gogo Bowdy in 16th and 17th position. Connie up there in 18th position. This grid keeps on going though. Mia Rose for the Rock Red Bull Sim Racing Esports team in 19th position with Jai Fletcher there in 20th. Then it's Alexander Strabel, Joel Holt, Will Murdoch and Lucas Hareman there for BS Competition back on row 7. Diana Perez, of course, it was 12 by the way. Diana Perez there in 25th position. Kieran Harding in 16th. 26th. Then it's Robin Glarum, Corey Lane, Archie Heron and Ryan McAuliffe down. That's actually a bit of a shock as well. Ryan McAuliffe down this far. Olivia Hayward and Nina Hahn, and of course Noah Osbaldson starting from 33rd position. They're all in position and they're all ready to go. 33 cars have been ticked off. A few are starting even on the final corner of this circuit because there's that many here. The British Formula 4 Esports Championship is go, and it is Henry Moore from pole position with a comfortable start down into the opening corner. Can he keep the rest of the field at bay through the entirety of the race? He's certainly willing to Redgate as Leo Brown makes a move up into 2nd position. Pablo Espes and Danny Moreno also going side by side for 3rd, and the TC Esports driver might be having to relinquish that position as Pablo Espes might just about remain side by side. Can he hold on to 3rd?
Oh, I don't know about that one as Moreno goes through. Big crash in the background. 3-4 cars have gone off through the crane of curves. We continue racing up towards the front here, and it's still going to be a side-by-side. Moreno's got that position, but Espes is going to be coming back as we come up towards McLean's for the first time of asking. The top 2 have got away, as it looks like it's just going to be Espes holding on, but off to the grass for Moreno.
Yeah, like I say, a couple of drivers off in the background coming down into the old hairpin. Couple of side-by-side moments here as Danny Moreno and Pablo Espes come to blows. Danny Moreno off the road, Pablo Espes pushing him off as they work their way through McLean's. Side-by-side sees Remy Gilbert working his way down the inside for Team Bennett. Can he come through to the outside going through the foggy? Yes, it's not going to work. Pablo Espes is able to hang on, and now Will Refford is going to try and do something with G2 Esports.
How did they not make contact? That was so close between the pair through the Foxy S's. That is a one-line corner, but they made 2 cars go through. Shintani's making moves, Janae's moving, making some moves as well, as these guys are side by side. Further contact as we come through the Melbourne hairpin as well, and in towards the final corner. It looks like Henry Moore is absolutely pulled away. Leo Brown, his old teammate, following him in behind.
Certainly so. Couple of drivers off the road in the background. I'm sure there's going to be some more switches in positions of the race into the opening corner as we get blinded by the front end of the cars. It's being illuminated by the sun behind us. Remy Gilbert going side by side with Shoma Shintani on debut. So Gilbert dropping backwards down the order, now trying to fend off and remain in 7th position. Matt Caruana up to 13th. Charles Genet going side by side with Iggy Smith as they work their way down through the crane of curves. Big move as well, as so Genet has worked his way through into the top 10. As here comes Iggy Smith back on the attack.
I mean, some people say Formula 4 cars are somewhat slow, but I mean, this is absolutely intense racing. It is so fast, so high speed, so much momentum in these cars. It is pretty crazy. Oh, in the background, we've got drivers going off there. So Kai Fletcher has off of McLean's. He's lost so many places, down to P30, basically 31 at the back of the field.
Yeah, a bit of a shame, but again, that is going to happen here on the open lap when you've got 33 cars trying to navigate the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Danny Moreno and Stanley Deslandis going side by side. We've seen Stanley Deslandis take part, of course, over the opening 2 seasons of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Of course, was a part of the JHR team that was taking part, JHR by 29 Esports back in 2023. Oh my God, my memory. He was obviously his teammates of Gordy Much, and almost, to be fair, caused Gordy Much the championship in that final race by not letting his teammate through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just point out.
Yeah, that was certainly a very interesting race, wasn't it? Back in the day, a couple of years ago now. What a run this championship is having. 4th season now going on, as we have the fastest lap counter there on the left-hand side. Will Redford in 4th place now has it, subject to the slipstream. So Henry Moore, despite being at the front, not got the fastest lap.
Yeah, and do remember that fastest lap does come with a point. Here's some of the crashing happening down the hill. Wow, that was happening at such high speed.
Yeah, I mean, just the tiniest contact as well, to be honest. But unfortunately, you see there with the 12 machine of Fletcher going around as well. Tiniest bit of contact. These cars are very, very loose, especially on that rear end. And unfortunately, drivers are having big spins from the smallest of contacts. Gilbert having a bit of a huge battle. Shintani sends up the inside of Deslandis as well. And that 7 car losing out 2 places potentially. No, actually, Deslandis gets the run on the exit of Coppice. Shintani not able to hold on with that one. But they are opening up some gaps ahead, side by side in towards the braking zone. That's going to be a big set from Shintani. Oh, sorry, other way around. Shintani is actually the one backing out. There's Tolachi who went through.
Yeah, Augustin Tolashi, who I have seen take part in more GT racing in esports, along with various other things. But that is a big send to the inside, though, coming in from Tolashi. Oh, sorry, was that Shoma Shintani? It's quite hard to tell those DC Esports cars apart, let me tell you. As that was Shintani getting very aggressive down the inside of the Melbourne hairpin. Too aggressive it was, and now has dropped a whole host of positions. A bit of smoke, and there's a car backwards as well.
Oh, that is absolutely terrible. There's Gine after going around a little bit earlier on in as well, and actually loses the front end of that car. So that's going to be some front downforce lost as well. And unfortunately, that's basically going to be race over in terms of getting up in towards the top points, just showing you how easy it is to make a mistake in this championship. And unfortunately, that going off once more, that is going to be race done.
Yeah, we'll be able to return to pit lane, maybe get that car repaired and back out on the circuit. Points, though, only for the top 20, so unlikely to be scoring any points this afternoon as we head back up to the race lead then. So we have Team Bennett here, our race leader in Henry Moore. We've got the number 33 there of Leo Brown for Drive Lounge Racing behind. I've been given full honour, shall I say, to critique the livery of Drive Lounge Racing, courtesy of Race Spot's own Zach Sweeney, and Drive Lounge's own Zach Sweeney. I think it looks fine. It looks passable. I like the colour.
When she says fine, it is not fine. We're starting to have to see how that one goes as the season progresses. But yeah, I mean, it's
basic.
It works out. It works out. I mean, from the front, there's a little bit too many dark liveries there this season, but that, that's everyone else's problem as well. But I do like the pink and blue coming through. We're 3 wide. We got BS Plus. We got Red Bull. Got Ferrari as well. 3 wide. We come through the hairpin and in towards the final corner. This is an absolute mess in the mid pack. Drivers trying to work their way out there. So Jonathan Riley, that we are looking on board with, as he actually comes into the pit lane and backs out of that one after maybe receiving the black flag.
Yeah, so Riley probably actually had a little bit of damage as well in that, unfortunately, as Matt Caruana and Augustin Tolashi switch positions a bit further up the order. We ride up here as we'll see Matt Caruana now having worked his way through in a very distinctive liveried car, the Hymo setups by EMM. That is it's different on each side. I don't know how you feel about that one. I like an asymmetric livery, but the colours may be a bit too much, but it's fine. I can see a critique of liveries.
We won't go back to Daytona a couple of years ago. So definitely the liveries is always a good one when you get to the first round of the season, because a lot of these teams are actually fairly similar to last year in terms of the team entries. However, the liveries are quite a bit different, although you can't miss out on the British Racing green of the Aston Martin here with Smith as you come down 3 cars bumper to bumper in towards the braking zone. There goes Gogo Baldi getting a push and up into 13th place.
Yeah, maybe Gogo Baldi getting that experience from the previous season, trying to use it to find some progress. We ride on board with Will Chadwick, who has Murdoch down the inside, and you can see absolutely frustrated, got tapped round and spun, and down to the rear end of the field goes Will Chadwick. He will not be a part of the reverse grid party today, that's for sure.
Yeah, that goes down to P15 in this championship, the potential reverse grid as we go back up towards a very interesting battle. It's Tolashi for TC, and then of course we have Caruana up ahead, who's a driver who's made a lot of positions so far this race, up into 8th. They've got a little bit of a gap up ahead to Deslandis, but they might be able to do that with some good racing indeed. However, I think they are going to have a bit of a strong battle, and therefore they may not be able to catch up. But let's see how this one goes, because Caruana, as you say, such a fast driver in the championship, would be expecting him to win a couple of races this season.
Augustin Tolashi then onto the rear end of Matt Caruana. 2-second gap appearing between them and Stanley Deslandis up ahead. Can Tolashi work his way through. Not at the moment. Sure, Landers will be getting some nice photographs as well by this. So he's a bit after this. He's become, since he doesn't sim race quite as much as he used to Standards Landers, does take some excellent photographs. Joel Hull has been returned to pit lane in his second season of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. So retirement, unfortunately, for him in this one as we head back to Gergo Bowdy, trying to get his way past Rebe Kirkabal.
Yeah, added to the list, 7 drivers retired from this already as Gogo Bowdy there having that battle, gets himself up into P12, slowly moving forward. They got a bit of a gap to Shintani up ahead, but that's still a lovely move there and continues his race on from that 12th place. Here's a replay of the contact. Oh, that is Joe Hull just way too late there. Wasn't really the move, and oh, what a terrible rejoin. That was not good, right in towards the racing line.
Yeah, that was suboptimal to say the least, unfortunately there. But as we refocus a little bit further down the order, we've got the 75 in here. This is the fight that sees Rebe Kirkabal trying to get past Gergo Bowdy, also trying to keep Connor Muir at bay, the Aston Martin Aramco Esports driver, as they go through the old hairpin. Off the road goes Muir, a second season for Connor Muir in this championship. Of course, the Aston Martin Aramco team also. We've seen some great drivers in this car, Joseph Lowe being one of them. Obviously, it's a great team, and it's a great liberty to have on the grid.
Yes, I'm just looking at his house, to be honest. Look at the brick walls on that. That is a cool house. I like the aesthetic, but we'll go back to the racing indeed, as this is very entertaining out here on the track. The battles, I mean, up and down the field, doesn't matter what position we're going for. This is outside the top 10, but this could be reverse grid pole actually, depending on how we go. As Gilbert and Moreno, they have their battles. So Gilbert looks like down in towards the hairpin. He makes that move for P5.
Cameron Roger, fan of Manchester United, Rangers and exposed brick walls. Fantastic news as we ride on board with Danny Moreno onto the rear end of Remy Gilbert, who currently holds the fastest lap and the bonus point that goes with it. Moreno trying to find a way up the order. This obviously is the fight for the final step on the podium that's currently being held by Pablo Espes, Will Redford, then Remy Gilbert, then Danny Moreno. A big gap to the cars behind in Standards Landers and Matt Caruana and the like, so no real chance for those to rejoin. But that said, we've still got 9 minutes and 20 seconds left to go, Cam.
Yeah, plenty. Of course, we have a 5-minute longer race in this championship compared to the Formula Fords. We have 2 20-minute races and a bigger reverse grid potential as well. So, you know, bigger and better in the F4 Esports Championship. Let's see how this one goes, because what a battle we're seeing up towards the front here. Unfortunately, not for the top 2. They've checked out, but in behind for the podium, let's see who can get that final place. Espes has got away a little bit because Redford, he's actually defending too hard here. He's lost himself time, and Gilbert is getting that momentum.
Yes, indeed. Let's see where these moves come from. We can see on board here with Remy Gilbert for Team Bennett. Is he able to get through? No. Obviously, will remain in there. Matt Caruana and Standards Landers switch over for 7th and 8th position. So 7th now goes the way of Matt Caruana. I say some great races happening in here. Notice that a lot of people in the YouTube chat, yes, we do read it every now and then. Noah Osbaldson has also worked up the order from the rear of the grid after disconnecting and qualifying, apparently, from 33rd up to 16th place. That is wild.
Certainly is, just showing you how crazy the first few laps was. Oh, we're being pushed off into the grass there, lower down. This is a pretty awesome battle that we're seeing. This is Talachi on the outside line now trying to defend. Of course, we have Deslandis there for driven by us as he gets pushed out onto the grass, loses that 1 place, but he has to look out the background because Shintani's trying to come through now.
Yeah, indeed. I will say it was a little bit aggressive there from Matt Caruana against the, not the teammate he used to have, because obviously Standards Landers in the Men's driven by us car wasn't in that one, but it is still the team he drove for last season, so not so ideal. With Shobi Shintani now gets through on Standards Landers, as will now work its way up the order. Iggy Smith onto the rear end of the Aston Martin Aramco Esports car. Any opportune moment coming in? Not quite, as they head their way through Coppice this time, and Shomi Shintani back up into 9th position after that unreal send down into the Melbourne hairpin.
I'm just been told this Landis has got a black flag. If that is so, a top 10 place is going down the drink, unfortunately, and that's not the way you would want to start the season. We'll have to see if that one is confirmed when we just get around a couple more corners, but certainly it's such a tight championship fight. You can't be having any little mistakes, but with all the contacts and the off tracks and everything that we get at this track, I'm not surprised to see some drivers getting that already as we get under 7 minutes to go now. And this battle continues on, and we go up towards the front. A fight we haven't seen for a couple of laps now, but Morris still leading. Is Leo Brown just going to sit in there behind? Because I guess technically the Bennett team's the top one. We'll have to see how they go in terms of any preference over the course of the season for the teams.
Yeah, we have seen this a fair amount in the years prior, of course, when we've gone racing in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. We have seen the Stormforce ART car and the JHR by 29 Esports. Obviously, they're all kind of run by Apex. God forbid we brought that up on broadcast, though. My goodness. On this occasion, not too sure how we should how it is, but I'm sure based on what they were happening last year with the Guild Academy and Guild Esports, they were plenty open to racing. As we're seeing here between G2 Will Refford getting down the inside and opening the door for Danny Moreno to come through. Remy Gilbert has been dropped back down into 6th position and still remains side by side as they try and head down into the Fogarty S. That was a little bit chaotic as Danny Moreno was trying to come through.
Yeah, these cars, these drivers, they just work so well as we have a send down the inside, I thought, but actually it was around the outside for Remy Gilbert trying to regain that move. But 3 cars, bumper to bumper, trying to find a little bit of space out there on track for each other as red for their defense, but all over the road. The 26 car, that's moving around way too much, almost causes contact with Gilbert.
Yeah, I was going to say, the wing did bend and then it came back. Got to be careful with that one. Remy Gilbert would not have been a happy driver. 5 minutes left to go. My point, by the way, of bringing it up earlier about the whole sister teams and stuff is that I think there still might be some racing for first and second. There comes a look to the inside from Remy Gilbert, someone who's had plenty of victories in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship over the past few years, will now make his way through and up into 5th position.
Yeah, that was very nice indeed. Just slid his way through. Aggressive move there down into turn 1 at Redgate, which is, of course, everyone you can overtake, but it's actually quite fast. Even though on the track map it looks a little bit tight, it is very fast indeed, and not always the biggest braking zone. But he got his move done, and now is chasing Redford down. They still have Espes up the way. Actually, we kind of forgotten about him a little bit in this battle. For that P3 is still up for grabs for one of these drivers.
Yeah, exactly. There is still the potential. I mean, it was the fight for third. Pablo Espes was able to pull away a touch from the group. So I'd suspect that we're going to see that ebb and flow ever so slightly throughout this race. But can they close that 1.5 second gap? I think the thing is, now that it's broken, I'm actually not sure, because I think they're all fighting a little bit too hard over what's directly ahead of them rather than what's slightly further ahead.
Yes, that is very true. The drivers often are a little bit tunnel visioned in these battles as Gilbert sort of defends and breaks late on the inside. That's an interesting choice of line as we get up to about, we're going to have about 3 laps here. I might just sneak in 3 laps to go as we get towards the end of this race. Espes still has a good margin for that 3rd place though, and none of these drivers are chasing him down just yet. That'll be a bit of a turnaround list though. That team struggled quite a bit last season, the Williams, the 2 Williams entries that we had. So Espes getting up towards the front there from the start of the season, that looks much better.
Yeah, certainly so. They only had 1 podium across, or 2 podiums rather, across the entire season, and that was at Silverstone in the hand of Alexander Spetz in the final race of the season, courtesy of Moreno Sirica. So for Williams, they are looking for some solid results to start the season. Ryan McAuliffe, someone we've seen a whole host throughout the previous few years in this championship. Unfortunately, not having the start to the season was expected. Ryan McAuliffe has an awful lot of pace, but unfortunately, sometimes a bit too inconsistent to go with it.
You know, as we can see a big send up the inside there as well. That is Hahn making a move, and now we're going to see McCallum try to get involved. Sorry, Perez making a move on Hahn, but as we go for comments, oh, that's a big slide. 3 car contacts up into the air for McCallum, and I assume all 3 cars are going to be off the road here with Hahn and Perez getting involved, and that's such a shame for McCallum, who's looking to get 2 places, but in the end, all 3 of them are going to be out.
Yeah, that is a big shame. Unfortunately, this is back up to Matt Caruana, who had a big look down the inside, coming in from Augustin Torlashi. TC Esports here, by the way, having a cracking start to the new season, as they're running at the moment in 6th and 7th position. As Matt Caruana, a driver who's been in the championship since its very inception in 2022, is looking to try and find his way through one of the most experienced drivers on this grid. We look back at this instant. Just chaos.
Oh, both prismatic cars getting involved as well. That is not the way that they would have wanted to start the season, with one teammate effectively causing for the other. So 4 cars involved there after just one tiny mistake. That is how close the battles are. Even a little bit further down the order, it doesn't have to be for a top 5 place. They are going for everything in this championship, and it's quite brutal actually with the prize draw. Just top 3 teams in the standings. We have 15, 16 teams here entered into it. Very, very brutal indeed for these teams. They are going for everything to get up towards the front, as we see Henry Moore. We've got less than a lap to go, so he's going to be coming on to the final lap. But he still leads nicely, and Leo Brown isn't giving up on this one, I would expect, but let's see how this one goes.
Yeah, I suspect that Leo Brown might give it a look if there's any mistake coming in from Henry Moore, but I also suspect that there might not be a mistake coming in from Henry Moore. A superb driver throughout the running of the 2024 season was Moore, who ended up taking 4 victories across the season. Leo Brown did take 1 victory, was in the opening race of the season last year, so he'd like to do that again.
It's always good. Gets the adrenaline pumping for the season, and really just gets the points on the board, gets that momentum going. If you start the race, the season badly, then it just sort of puts you in a bit of a difficult mindset coming back, as Caruana gets to Torlashi for 7th position there. But we have some big battles coming towards this final lap. Moreno gets Gilbert as well, so we've got a 3-car battle for P4. We've got 3 4-car battle for P7, as we just have half a lap to go.
A little bit deep there from Leo Brown, that allowed Henry Moore to pull out a little bit more of a gap. Augustin Torlashi and Matt Caruana once again going side by side. Caruana with the inside line, Torlashi with the outside. Could open the door as well here for Shomi Shintani to throw himself into the mix. Into the right hander they go at Coppice, and it is Caruana out ahead. The side by side, the battling rather between the top 2. Could see a move coming in here from Leo Brown, who looks to the inside as they work their way down to the Melbourne hairpin. Will he try and send one here on Henry Moore? They are going to do battle here, and it is a look to the inside from Leo Brown, trying to take the first victory of the season for the 2nd consecutive year. Can he do it though, with Henry Moore slightly to the inside as they head their way into the final corner at Goddard? It is Moore with the full send. He's led every single lap of the race, and he's going to lead the final one as well. Moore across the line to take his 5th victory in British Formula 4 Esports, and to open the season with a victory for a brand new team as well in Team Bennett. Leo Brown will finish the line in 2nd position, and Pablo Espez will come across the line in 3rd. Behind that, a fantastic fight for 4th. We'll see Refford ahead of Moreno, ahead of Gilbert, and then Caruana, Torlashi and Shintani behind.
What a final lap that was in the end. I thought Leo Brown was going to go for it. He sat there for so long that he clearly had the pace, but unfortunately not enough. He probably thought he had that race victory done as he came out the Melbourne hairpin, but Henry Moore just able to keep his nose down the inside there, and late enough on the brakes to regain that lead, and just by 1/10 of a second will be the victor for the opening race of the season. But what a start to those sister teammates as well at the front. It looks like that group of drivers are picking up where they left off with the speed that they had last season.
Shout out to TC Esports as well. What a start to the season for them to have come through and started their campaign in British Formula 4 Esports as such a new team for us. Spinny Wheel is out in action, and for the 2nd time this evening, is it going to be an 8? Yes, it is. So 8 is the number. That's, in this case, pretty good, because it's 5 to 15. We will take, well, that's all the drivers rather, will take an 8. I want it to be 15, but that's fine. Henry Moore then will take 8 to 8th position on the next grid, but obviously we will take the first victory provisionally of the season. Leo Brown in 2nd position with Pablo Espez on the podium. We'll catch up with those 3 in a moment, with Will Refford in 4th position. Danny Moreno in 5th, Remy Gilbert there in 6th position for Team Bennett. His teammate, of course, taking the victory. 6th, pretty decent points haul there for Bennett, along with TC Esports as well in 5th. And in 8th, Matt Caruana in 7th position. Augustin Torlashi for TC Esports there in 8th. And then Shomi Shintani, the Williams Sim Racing Academy driver, in 9th position. Iggy Smith in in 10th position for the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team. Rippy Kirkhope will finish in 11th position for Alpine Sim Racing. Then we've got Gogo Bowdy, Will Murdoch, Connor Muir, Noah Osbaldson, by the way, from the rear end of the field all the way up into 15th, 33rd to 15th. There's a pretty impressive drive with Connie up there. Jai Fletcher in 17th position, Stanley Deslandis, Will Chadwick, and Archie Heron there in 20th position. Still 2 and a bit pages left to go, 1 and a bit rather pages left to go of this grid. Olivia Hayward there in 21st position with Mia Rose, Deanna Perez, and of course Nina Hahn, Giles Genet, Ryan McCullough having that instant and unfortunately a late race retirement. Retirements also for Lucas Herman, then Jonathan Riley, Joel Hull, and Kieran Harding, along with the final 3 being Robin Glerham, Corey Aline, and Alexander Strobel. All retirements from the race, a whole host of retirements, as we have had a fair few times in British Formula 4 esports. Now, somebody we've talked to an awful lot over the last 2 years, well, we're going to be talking to him again because it's time to catch up with our race winner Henry Moore, who had a superb drive to victory. Once again, it is a 5th victory in your British F4 Esports career thus far, but a superb drive to a victory to open up the season. What do you make of that one? I mean, you came into this as basically the firm favourite for the title. I mean, that's a pretty good start.
Yeah, it's a great start, obviously, with the new Team Bennett. Remy obviously also doing a good job. I think he picked up a bit of wing damage, but yeah, Leo as well on P2 for Drive Lounge. So yeah, it's a great start and looking forward to race 2 now.
Obviously, yeah, outside of the racing, the behind-the-scenes build-up to the season has been a bit interesting for you, of course, with Guild Esports no longer being here. But as much as it is effectively a new team and a new brand to be driving at here in sim racing, the team around you is still very similar. What is that like from your perspective? Has there been any major changes outside of it that you maybe didn't expect?
No, not really, to be honest. Obviously, it's like one big family. It feels like home straight away. Seb's obviously incredible. We got Matt Emery as well, and then obviously the 4 of us driving today. So yeah, I can't thank them enough for the prep that we've done, and yeah, it's a great start.
Let's talk about the battle there between yourself and Leo Brown last lap of the race. I mean, I was wondering if he was going to send it, and boy, did he. He gave it a good go there. What was going through your mind at that point?
To be honest, I was wondering if he was going to do it as well. When we came out the chicane, I knew I had a bad exit and his front wing was straight there. So yeah, I had to give him the space, but obviously clean racing and yeah, great to battle with him, to be fair.
Now, last question for you. What do you think is going to happen in the second race? It's not that bad when it comes to reverse grid. We saw some pretty big numbers last year. This one is just 8th place, the reverse grid for you. What are you making of that? What are you thinking of your chances of maybe going back to back?
Considering what I was seeing in my mirror on that one, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, we'll just have to give it a go, keep our nose clean and see what's what.
Well, best of luck in the second race.
Thank you very much, guys.
Henry Moore victorious once again in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Of course, the runner-up back in 2024. Let's catch up with the driver he was battling with for victory in that race. It's time to chat to Leo Brown. Of course, Drive Lounge Racing, a new name again to see on the grid. Leo Brown, winner of the opening race of 2024, runner-up in the opening race of 2025. Great attempt, though, to try and take the race victory going down to the penultimate corner. What do you make? You racing a great battle with yourself and Henry Moore.
Yeah, I had a great start, and then the plan was just once we had a gap, was sit behind Henry because I knew sort of his pace, and yeah, we were able to pull away. I would have liked to have tried to make a move a lap earlier, but I made a bit of a mistake. So yeah, but look, round 1, take second. Still want to do anything unnecessary on the last lap there, but no, yeah, all good.
Obviously, last season you won the opening race, and you had a solid opening round of the season. That was at Brands Hatch Indy, of course. This is Donington Park Grand Prix, very different circuit. After that, for a few rounds, it was kind of a little bit of a drop-off in form before you picked up things with 3 podiums in the final 3 rounds of the season. What have you learned from that season that you're using this season to kind of build your way through it?
Yeah, I think I learned from last year, the key is just to stay out of trouble in this championship, you know. Lots of cars on the grid, lots of talent as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I did there. Just sort of played it safe, take the points and move on to the next race, which I don't think I maximised last year. So yeah, that's what I'm looking to do different this year.
And again, as much as I asked the question there to Henry about the effectively the team change, but you're still around the same group of people. What's that been like from your perspective, of course, from Guild Esports and having such a strong run, even winning the team's championship last season, and what are the expectations from you and yourself and this team this season?
Yeah, look, we've got a lot of the same sort of drivers and personnel coming over from Guild over to Bennick and Drive Lounge respectively. So, yeah, I think we've all slotted in really well to our roles, just sort of operating how we have done before, taking sort of the same steps towards competition like we have done on this one. And I think it showed, and hopefully we can continue towards what we did last year, but in this season instead.
Well, best of luck in race number 2, where you'll be starting from 7th place.
Thank you very much.
Leo Brown there onto the podium for, I believe, the 5th time in his British F4 Esports career. Now we'll catch up with Pablo Espes, who's on the podium in the opening race of the season. A good start for Williams Sim Racing, who only had, I think, 2 podiums it was last season. One was in the hands of yourself in that excellent Silverstone race, where you were able to take 2nd position. What have you made of this start of the season and the potential improvements that have been made behind the scenes for you and the Williams Sim Racing team?
Yeah, I'm super happy with this P3, but yeah, it's only the start of the championship, and we have to keep doing these results.
What's it been like for you between the 2 seasons? Obviously there's been such a long pause between 2024 and now the start of 2025, as we always have, this being at the end of the year. Have you been very busy? You've been racing a lot of esports championships and taking part towards the top and learning stuff from that?
Yeah, during the year I have been training with a lot of cars for the special events and all this stuff, and this summer I qualified for the World Championship, so it was a good training also for this championship.
Yeah, obviously, taking part in there's a lot of Formula 4 racing that happens towards this part of the year. How hard is it to kind of keep your focus on one thing at a time? Because there's obviously so much happening around this time of year in esports.
Yeah, but I mean, at least it's the same car, and hopefully some tracks will be the same also. But yeah, will be hard, but it's doable.
Well, best of luck in race number 2, where you'll be starting from 6th position, so if you can keep your nose clean and maybe sneak another podium.
Thank you.
There we go. Pablo Espes, Leo Brown and Henry Moore there caught up with, and again, great to hear from them. But again, we're moving into a second race, which we know, Cam, is going to be pretty chaotic.
Yes, the reverse grid is always pretty crazy, but then 8 is a decent sized number as well. So I'm really looking forward to how, because obviously Brown and Moore there, they didn't really battle anyone in that race. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to interact with some drivers now that they actually have a few little battles to do. So because they basically got away even after the first half a lap, just because of the battles that were coming in behind. So very good indeed. And hopefully we don't get a little bit of a 3-4 car pile up at the end of the first lap, because that will of course keep the drivers in the race. But in general, solid start to the season. The battles look like they're going to be great once again. The side-by-sides, the aggression from some of these drivers as well. And Donington is one of the more open circuits that we go to over the course of the season. As the season progresses, we go to some more tighter circuits. It could be very interesting.
Yeah, Alton Park International springs to mind as one of those tight ones. And then, of course, what I think has been, and this is a bit later on in the season, what I genuinely feel has been the title changer over the last 2 years, and that is Knock Hill. And to be fair, you could even say 3 years. All 3 years, Knock Hill has been the one that has started to change form. It's the 3rd to last round of the championship. And the reason I say that is I'm pretty sure it was certainly 2023, Pete Berryman, I remember going into that round as being like the strong championship leader, went into that round and had a not so great one. Gordy Much absolutely smashed it and threw himself right into title contention. I'm pretty sure that happened in 2022 as well, a little bit more leaning towards Luke McEwen. And of course, last year at Knock Hill, and I didn't want to mention it in the interviews because I want to be a Debbie Downer and maybe try and knock some of the confidence out of Henry Moore, but it was a retirement in the second race Silverstone, which was the round before Knock Hill, that Graham Carroll bounced back from, and I don't think Henry Moore did quite as well. The round after that was not kill. Graham Carroll was on the podium both times, and I know Henry Moore won the reverse grid race, but it's kind of different winning a reverse grid race than getting a double podium.
Absolutely, that's a crucial moment of the season, really. As I say, you just got a couple of rounds to go after that one. You're putting yourself in a position to win the title or not, and it's a tricky circuit, as everyone knows. Less than a minute the lap time around there, and just with the chaos that can happen, it's certainly going to be an interesting one to look forward to. But that is for a couple of rounds time for today at Donington Park for this reverse grid. You'd hope it'd be a little bit more clean than that, but we only go to Donington Park once this time around. We have been here twice, a couple of times in the past, just the once this time. As you say, Zandvoort was added to the calendar, for instance. So this is the only chance they're going to be here, and it's always really, really tight indeed. I think, Lewis, from 8th position though, it's still winnable around this circuit.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've seen Noah Asvolson go from 33rd up to 15th. That's different going from the back to the mid-pack, but still, yeah, you can rise up from somewhere towards the back end of the top 10 up the order. So I don't think there'll be any major issues with that. One thing to note, I know you said about going to Donington Park twice. Obviously, we went there twice in 2023. Last year we went to Brands Hatch twice. This year we don't go to any circuit more than once, courtesy of the addition of Thruxton. Of course, Zandvoort was the addition last year to the calendar. That was round 2 of the season. This time it is round 7, and that middle 4 race swing is exactly the same. So we go to the same circuits for that bit in the same order as last year. So any drivers that had their confidence knocked through that might be thinking, wait a second, how do I not have my confidence knocked again?
Yes, I think confidence as well is the most important thing for these drivers over the course of the season, and that's why starting strong for the likes of Brown and Moore is so important, because now they have the momentum. Now they're like, oh yes, we are going to be fighting for this championship. If you're the likes of maybe McAuliffe there, who is a driver you'd reckon maybe up towards the front, he had obviously a terrible race there, ended up with that DNF. He's now going to try and bounce back, try and motivate himself, get himself going again for the season. So that is certainly going to be something, you know, a bit more of a mental challenge coming into this next part of the evening, coming into this second race, because you can't switch off. This race is worth as many points as the previous, and at the end of the day, you can't rely on other people's results. You've got to go and do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly that. 20 seconds left to go in practice. It's not really a practice. I think anyone's learning insane amounts from. I think it's more a set yourself up, get yourself into the right headspace, and get yourself ready for what is going to be another tricky race. Very quickly before we jump into it, because we're not going to have time to ask you, who's going to win this race?
Oh, I don't know. Gilbert.
Damn.
Gilbert.
Remy Gilbert. Okay, that's fair. That is fair. Well, it really is. The checker flag has come out. Just for a word of warning, we're not going to be able to get through this entire grid. It's 33 cars, and I can speak quick, but not that fast. I will give it a good go, though, as we get ourselves ready for the second race of the night. I am excited for this one. I am ready to go. I'm sure you are, Cam, and I'm sure everyone is at home as well. Augustin Talashi will start from reverse grid pole with Matt Caruana on the front row. Remy Gilbert, Danny Moreno, Will Refford, and Pablo Espez in 6th position. Behind that, though, we have one more row of the reverse grid, being Leo Brown and Henry Moore. Everyone else is starting where they finished. Shoma Shintani, Iggy Smith, Rope Kokobar, and, of course, Gergo Bowdy there in 12th position. Will Murdoch, Connor Muir, Noah Osbaldson from the back of the field up to 15th. Connor Yip there in 16th, with Jai Fletcher and Stanley Deslandis in 18th position, with Will Chadwick in 19th. Bit of a disappointment there. Archie Herod in 20th. Olivia Hayward, Mia Rose, Deanna Perez, and Nina Hahn there in 24th position, before we get into a string of retirements after Gilles Genet in 25th position. Ryan McAuliffe retirement from the race. Lucas Herman, Jonathan Riley, Joel Hole, Kieran Harding, and of course the final 2 rows of the grid, Rob McLaren, Corioline, and Alexander Strabel. Wow, I can catch my breath. My goodness, that was chaos. Either way, 20 minutes onto the clock and we're ready to go for race 2 of the season, and we'll see who's going to be able to take victory. Of course, Augustin Tolashi there from the front end of the field is ready to try and take his first victory of the season. Matt Caruana is ready to take another victory. He's had so many in his British F4 Esports career. He could be the favourite to win this one, but Cam Rodger has picked Remy Gilbert, who still runs in third position. Side by side for fourth as Danny Moreno is able to keep Will Refford at bay, as there's also side by side behind with Leo Brown and Pablo Espez. The two finished on the podium in the previous race, and the side by side down the hill as Espez is dropping backwards. Caruana is now your race leader ahead of Remy Gilbert. Augustin Tolashi is dropping backwards.
Yeah, he's a little bit cautious there. So the two TC Esports cars in third and fourth place. But you know what? I said Remy Gilbert because I forgot about Matt Caruana. He's gone to the front and he is looking very strong in this race. Round there, so, huge contact up in the air goes Redford. And unfortunately, that is going to be going to the back of the field. And I think that might have been with Danny Moreno there in that fourth position. Leo Brown now coming through in fifth.
Yeah, Mia Rose was also off the road in the background as well for the Rox Red Bull sim racing team. Here comes a look from Matt Caruana, Remy Gilbert all over the rear end, the two TC Esports behind of Augustin Tolashi and Danny Moreno. Then it's Leo Brown and Henry Moore both making up a couple of positions. Shomi Shintani into seventh, Iggy Smith into eighth. So Shomi Shintani's made a couple of spots up here on the opening lap of proceedings, as well as Gogo Baldi and Rope Kokapau also go side by side down the order. Defensive line coming in as well, a few rows behind. I think that might have been, it's not for Pablo Espez, I think it might be Will Murdoch.
Yeah, that was a big send down the inside there as we're trying to see if Espez can complete that move, but in the end he doesn't, as Kokapau is going to hold on to that one. Yeah, it was actually Leo Brown. So Leo Brown is the one who made the contact on the back of Redford as we came through McLean's. That could be an interesting one. Obviously didn't quite see whether on the edge. Oh, further contact. Connor Muir gets spun around the wrong way. He got contact on that rear left corner going through a right-hander. Very interesting one off to the left-hand side.
Nina Hahn out of the race already. Into the pit lane is Corey Aline, and yeah, unfortunately there is more drama as well. This is what happened to Connor Muir. There's going to be a tap as well from the Mentor driven by Azkar on the way through and sent off and around. That might have been Stanley Deslanders. I'm not 100% sure as to which one would have been around them at that point. But either way, couple of chaotic moments as we would expect as Charles Genet and Jai Fletcher go side by side for 18th position around the McLean's Coppice part of the lap. One bit where there is single file is right here towards the front. Caruana, Gilbert, Tolashi, Moreno, Brown, Moore, Chitani, Smith, Baldi and Kokapau, the top 10.
I tell you what, I love Matt Caruana, of course. We won't briefly go over it, but of course he did have a little bit of a race ban a couple of years ago for some interesting driving, but he's come back so fast last season. This year as well, he's coming out strong again. He's left that mindset behind, and he's coming in just showing the pace that he has, which is what we want to see in these championships. And it's great that he's back here up towards the front. What a move there on that opening lap. And I like also for Tolashi that he didn't really let the floodgates open. I know he's got his teammate behind, but he didn't let that to get a hold of him in that first lap where the two drivers of Caruana and Gilbert went through.
Yeah, indeed. That interesting driving is a way of putting it. I will say, Matt Caruana, I think he bounced back from it really well. A bit of silliness a couple of years ago, but last year he was absolutely fantastic, and I think this year he's going to build on that and is definitely a firm favourite to at least contend for the 2025 title, as long as he's able to do the full season. Of course, he did miss around last year as he was representing Great Britain, of course, in the Motorsport Games out there at Paul Ricard near Marseille. Look, he's been a busy man, has Matt Caruana, and hopefully here, I'd love to see him contend for the championship because he's a quality driver.
Absolutely, and that speed is coming out right now, but it's going to be so hard to hold on to this lead. Remy Gilbert is right all over the back of him as you come down in towards the hairpin for another time of asking. Tolashi's going to be losing a place here to his teammate Moreno. Gets the run. Tolashi didn't get the best exit out of the Foxy S's, and he can just sit there and watch his teammate go past Leo Brown, Henry Moore from that reverse grid front row. Let's say they've made up a couple of places each, and they are now in 5th and 6th place in behind. But of course, Brown involved in that incident. Didn't see if there was going to be some fault down his end, but you never know. There might be some seconds might be taken away from him later in the race.
Will Chadwick, I think, making a move there in the background, so getting a spot done after there was a touch of a mistake from Connor Yip as we ride on board with the number 60 down the hill. Sure, look, it's one of those ones, you lose position, you've just got to keep your eyes focused ahead and not panic. That is the important bit, which I don't know about you, Cam, not really my strength behind the wheel.
No, you do get a little bit hot-headed.
What do you mean?
Let's say, but that is what we love about some drivers, the fact that they do get fired up. You can't be a boring driver, you know, for the entertainment side of things. They're all going off the track. I mean, we've got some very expensive lawnmowers going around here at the Donington Park Circus. There's a huge send there up the inside of orbit at contact, and they're going to be going wide. Unfortunately, that is Ryan McAuliffe, who in the very corner, that very same corner in the previous race, had issues. And once again, he does again in the race too.
Yeah, indeed. Won't be too pleased on the team radio. Did a couple of rounds last year. Has raced in the previous 2 seasons before that. As we'll see Pablo Espes down the inside then on Will Murdoch, and we'll get past the BS competition driver. So Espes trying to recover back up the order. 11th position now. As he sees his podium rivals from the previous race still up the order in 5th and 6th position. But Cameron, Roger, what have I been saying the last 3 years here? There's a rule in battling in the British F4 Esports Championship. Not an actual rule, it's more of something behind the scenes, and we're very elusive, but there's the rule of 6. 6 cars is always what you see in a battle. Any more than that and it always falls apart. And there is 7 cars in that lead battle, Cam. That is not going to last, surely.
It's certainly not, nor is Jonathan Riley's position on P19, because he's lost that to Jai Fletcher. Riley now down into P20. Here's a Glarham in behind P21. And look at this guy. They love going on the grass here at Donington Park, and that is why we are seeing some off tracks and potentially some black flags later on in the race. To the outside of McLean's is going to go, but that's actually going to swap to the inside if he can get the run up towards Coppice. No, that is blocked off by literally just centimetres there from Riley. Hard defence, but it's made it work.
Yeah, he's got to watch out there for the front wing. They're very delicate, as you would expect in an open wheeler. And if you do, Bennett, you do lose quite a lot of time, a lap, if you do get any contact on the front wing. You saw Glarham's front wing pop up, but that was it was still a fair gap between them, so it dropped back down again, so don't worry. As he's got a slow down penalty coming through the fog at ES.
You saw his eyes go straight up to the rear view mirror to try and see if anyone was coming in behind. Fortunately, he looked like he was actually okay. As we have another 6, well, that's actually another 7-car train, which obviously isn't going to end well either. As we see Smith there getting the run in the 214 machine. He's looking at in his mirrors to Will Murdoch in behind. But this battle's so intense. Imagine being in that as well. Just having to look forward, look behind, look at your relative all the time whilst you're trying to actually keep the car on the road. Is a very tricky situation to be in.
Certainly is. Off the road speaking, there is Noah Osbaldson, who of course had such a good drive in the previous race, and that one not quite going as well. I don't think there's going to be a 33rd to 15th, and at least from that position.
No, not from being off the road there, as this live picture is absolutely ridiculous. There's Osbaldson braking way later, couldn't get it stopped. The car was moving all over the place, and in that case there's just no weight there either, or no weight balance, and you just can't keep a hold of that. As yet, this is the battle out towards the front, and is there still 7 cars? Yes, there is. That's Shintani. He's actually got the fastest lap in the 28 car on the back of this train, but he's not really involved. The issue is that when you get beyond this, the concertina effect just gets exaggerated too much, but everyone's keeping it fairly clean for now. I think they're just keeping it a little bit in the bank for the second half of the race.
Yeah, indeed. Will Murdoch and Will Chadwick are going side by side for 12th and 13th. I think that was exactly what happened when Will Chadwick got sent around in the previous race, so we'll have to wait and see how that one's going to unfold. Oh! Speak of which, Will Murdoch and Will Chadwick are off the road at the final corner, so it took them an extra corner to do that. Obviously, I don't think it was Murdoch and Chadwick that had contact between themselves in the previous race. I think it was something further behind, but that is not the commentator's curse, Cam.
Yeah, not quite. 4 wide we go in towards Red Gate for now. Surely they're not all going to come out unscathed. Now, as we see the Ferrari car just drop down a little bit from that, but these guys, they just go for everything, don't they? They see a gap, and if it's wide enough for a car, then they absolutely go for it. Side by side we go down in towards the old hairpin. What a move that is as well. And I mean, you can't quite see as we come through behind the barrier, but it is going to be still side by side as you come up the hill.
Yeah, Archie Heron there was trying to get past Will Murdoch. Murdoch trying to come straight back through. Robin Glerham, who we've rode on board with earlier in this race, now taps the rear end of the BS competition. Driver off the road goes Archie Heron in the 59. And down the order in that distinctive blue and sort of lime or day-glow yellow car, drops down the order. And also dropping down the order after further issues, Will Murdoch. This is not going super great for BS competition. Has got the number 70 of Jonathan Riley. The Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports car has also come through. Leo Brown finally has made a move on Augustin Torlashi as well, further up the order.
And he's in P4, but he's less than a second behind the lead. Torlashi sends it up the inside to try and regain that place, and he might have done it, actually. Yes, he has. So now we're getting Henry Moore get up the inside of Leo Brown as we come down this front straight. Let's go to the replay to see how this one happened. Up in towards the final corner. Oh, spun the wrong way there. So that is unfortunately how the 93 ended up there. And of course the 88 of Chadwick on the inside.
I think he locked the rear slightly on the inside there, did Murdoch, and that was what instigated the contact between Will Chadwick, who, as we noted from the previous race, it can be loud behind the wheel. Yes. You fine? Yeah, maybe. But,
it's a good thing the driver cams are muted. Let's just say that.
That is very true. I always, though, said I was quite. I've said this before on broadcast, and I'm okay to say it again. Well, she shouldn't ever be, red mist. You got to find a way of channeling the red mist, and mine was in a shock to no one vocally. But I never ever drove like it. The driving was, I was always pretty good. I didn't pick up too many instant points. I know Cam is literally sat there, eyes wide open, about a couple of instants. I've done some touring car driving for what was 7 seasons, I think, consecutively, and I picked up like 5 penalties in that entire time. So you pump the brakes there, Mr. Rogers. Remy Gilbert and Matt Caruana go side by side for the race lead. Things are still relatively calm here despite the changes, but Remy Gilbert is saying, I think this should go a little bit faster now.
As the 7-car battle resumes, continues on, I should say. There's the replay of the move, just standard by the book move down the inside there. Very clean, very nice indeed. As Caruana not defending that one too hard because he knows he doesn't want to get the cars behind involved. The issue is if they slow each other down, you're going to get one of the TC Esports cars sending up the inside of you, and that is not what you want at this point in the race. We're just over halfway through, and they're working out their track position, trying to work where they want to be, coming to the final 3 laps where they can really start attacking. But for now, they are swapping that one place. No one else going for moves just yet.
Certainly not. As like I say, these races, they can do this a little bit. They go calm through the middle. They always, if you're joining us for the first time here in British F4 Esports, hello, welcome. I mean, it's great to have you here. And we have had some good racing. We've had some good racing in race 1, some good racing here in race 2. If you are new, trust me, this will all kick off. There is no doubt. This is a bit further down with Diana Perez, who is staring ahead in the Rock Rebel sim racing car. I think teammate Mia Rose is also a couple of positions ahead, who's also been off the road a couple of times this race, but has had some decent speed thus far. They're all trying to battle Noah Balderston in 21st position, I believe, and Lucas Hearn in between.
Oh, that's wide, as there's a huge defensive line there. So it's going to be Perez to the outside in towards the hairpin. That's potentially not going to work. So Herman, but BS competition is going to be going up the inside, as you're saying. Perez just leaving the door open up there in towards the hairpin. As we get towards the final corner, is there going to be any sort of potential move? No, they're going to stay in the same position.
Certainly so. That was pretty tight near Rose there, just about able to hang on right at the front. Remy Gilbert, Matt Caruana, also side by side. Well, it was more of a little bit of a look rather than a side by side, wasn't it? Of course, Remy Gilbert did take only a single victory last season. It was in the opening race at Knock Hill, but did take a victory as well in the season before, which of course was in the reverse grid race at Brands Indy. So has averaged at least 1 race a season for the last couple of years. Looks to add that one to the list already. But Matt Caruana behind him has had a whole host of victories. I think it is in total 5 already.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable considering how sort of competitive this championship was, especially last season with the likes of Moore and Carroll. But to be honest, especially with the reverse grid, you just can't keep on winning races in this championship. It's not like you can just lead from the front, get pole position every single time. And also, with the closeness of this race, we got a top 7 battle here. They're separated by 1.5 seconds. That's ridiculous. In some other championships, you have 1.5 seconds per car at best. We have 7 cars inside that gap. It's absolutely ridiculous as we get to 5 minutes to go in this race. So we are looking at about 4 laps, including this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is so hard to keep on winning. Because the reverse grid does really throw itself upon you. Maybe Henry Moore can do the double. It has been done twice before in British Formula 4 Esports. One by Pete Berryman around here, but at the national circuit, and then once by Gordy Much at Knock Hill. As Lucas Herman tries to look to the outside, I believe of Mia Rose there, and sorry, that might not have been Mia Rose. It might have been Diana Perez, but was unable to get through, having dropped back on the rocked Red Bull sim racing cars. This is Danny Moreno for 3rd position. And again, the battle for the race lead. 5 cars within a second. I'm not sure how this is going to unfold. It's been very calm for 4 minutes, for the opening, rather, 15.5 minutes of this race. For the final 4 minutes 30, I'm not so sure, as Henry Moore and Leo Brown going into battle and switching position.
Yeah, they're all slowing down there behind, and that's causing some bottlenecks. So Henry Moore's made the move on Leo Brown, but up towards the front, there was almost a move there from Moreno, as his teammate Tolashi is just going to be looking on. But yeah, basically what was happening there was in towards the Fog TS's. Caruana was slowing down, choosing not to go side by side with Gilbert. That backs everyone up just by a couple of meters, and when you get to the braking zone, you get to a point where Henry Moore then had the overspeed on his sister teammate Leo Brown. So this is a very interesting situation to be in for those drivers a little bit further back, because they are in less control of where they can, judge their braking markers. But for now, everyone is keeping it clean.
A bold no-glove strategy here from Augustin Torlashi. Don't know how you feel about that. Are you a glove guy or not?
Since getting a wheel out of grips like that and proper strength, always gloves.
Okay, yeah, no, I since getting a direct drive, I used to never be gloves. I used to always be hand. I like the feel. I am always gloves. I think after about 5 minutes, I start to lose grip of the wheel. So brave stuff there from Augustin Talash. You can see there the grip on the wheel just being done by the bare hand, or maybe they're just skin-coloured gloves. That would be the ultimate getting in people's head. I really don't know. It would look horrible.
As we have a 5-car breakaway here, because Shintani's got past Brown, and that's caused a little bit of a gap to open up there. As Gogo Baldy goes a little bit deep in towards the Foxy S's, but he's made that move on Pablo Espes in this second group here. We've got Kokopo just in the background with Iggy Smith as well. They get very close to each other down towards the hairpin, but it looks like Baldy's just completed that move.
Yeah, certainly so. So Gogo Baldi, 8th position, who Henry Moore also now starting to make up some moves. Is he looking for back-to-back podiums? He works his way past Augustin Torlashi, and Henry Moore into 4th position. Winner of the previous race, runner-up of the previous season. Looks to defend heading down to the first corner. It's starting to kick off here on the penultimate lap of the race as Remy Gilbert and Matt Caruana go side by side for the race lead. Caruana is coming through and he's going to drag Danny Moreno as well.
Oh my word, up the inside in towards the old hairpin. He's going to have 2nd place here because Gilbert is going to have to back out of that one. No, he doesn't on the outside. He gets squeezed onto the grass. That was always going to happen for a very tight corner. And now he's got his teammate Henry Moore getting the run up towards McLean's, who's side by side himself with Torlashi. He's trying to hold it all the way around the outside for TC Esports. What a race he is having. But Henry Moore does hold on to that position into P4. And we are looking at a bit of an open door for who's going to win this race.
And now he has his Team Benek Esports teammate directly ahead of him, does Henry Moore. We ride on board with Remy Gilbert, who sits in that 3rd position directly ahead of Henry Moore. He now knows he's got his teammate behind him. Maybe that'll instill some trust in the car behind, or maybe it'll make him feel the pressure, as we've got side by side here for Pablo Espes, Gogo Baldi and Rope Kirkapau. As here comes a look to the outside from Moreno for the race lead. 1 minute left to go. Final lap about to begin. A big hip check there coming in from the Team Benek driver of Remy Gilbert. Henry Moore going one way, then back the other, trying to commit to the outside of the final turn. Can he do so? The door is open for Augustin Torlashi to come through. It's TC versus Team Benek here for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
And this is crazy. Less than a minute to go, so final lap time coming your way. Caruana leads Gilbert, but any of these drivers in behind really could lead this race as we come across the line, because I think Gilbert is going to absolutely send it here when he gets the opportunity on Caruana. He looked a little bit miffed after losing the lead that he had earlier on in this race. Down through the old hairpin, there is a couple of car lengths gap, so Gilbert's going to have to send it. He's got the run as we come up the hill, to be honest, so the momentum is going back in his favour.
Well, Remy Gilbert last season did start out the season with a double podium run at Brands Hatch Indy. It was second and second on that day. Matt Caruana did have a single podium in the opening night of the evening last year, with just a third place in the opening race. He's trying to go slightly better than that, at least here in the reverse grid race. Final lap, Matt Caruana is leading from Remy Gilbert. Where's the opportunity though?
Oh, I think he's going to have to be in towards the hairpin. Keep it calm here, Remy. Get the run through the Foxy S's. And maybe Caruana makes a mistake. Not much, but there is a run.
Yeah, we've got a big battle for the race lead. 7 cars back from Caruana to Brown. But are they going to be able to find their way through? Here comes a look to the outside from Remy Gilbert. He could not do anything about Caruana, who might hold out firm here, as Henry Moore is more focusing on defence behind from Augustin Torlaschi rather than attacking for the podium. There comes Remy Gilbert with the up and under. Is that one going to work? Is Danny Moreno going to get an opportunity to come through in a second spot? No, he is not. And for the 6th time in British Formula 4 Esports, it is Matt Caruana taking victory. What a superb drive from Caruana across the line, able to keep Gilbert at bay, Moreno at bay, Moore, Torlaschi, Shintani and Brown. There was some contact through the final corner, or at least some penalties as such. Saw Shintani and Brown drop back to 6th and 7th. Or at least rather further off the back of the grid. They were a lot closer than that coming into the final complex, let me tell you. Also, someone's into the pit lane on the last lap.
1 second covering the top 5 places. That is absolutely ridiculous to finish this opening round of the season. There's Mia Rose, who did actually drop down at one point. We were looking for a battle with Herman for about P20, but then dropped down, unfortunately, towards the end. Jonathan Riley not having the day that he would have wanted. But at the front, what a day. Also, TC Esports, you were mentioning this earlier, getting a couple of cars up inside the top 5 there, and a podium to finish the day off as well. What a debut to the championship for them. And in general, that is just a postcard of what we're going to see over the course of this season.
Yeah, that was a very impressive drive and an excellent victory as well, as Caruana is able to take victory once again. Remy Gilbert then in 2nd position, and Danny Moreno will round out the podium. Henry Moore in 4th position with Augustin Torlaschi in 5th. Shoma Shintani there in 6th position with Leo Brown, Pablo Espez, Gogo Baldi and Iggy Smith rounding out the top 10 once again. So great start actually for Iggy Smith as well in a debut to the championship. Robe Kokapau will finish in 11th position with Connor Duke. Then Stanley Deslanis in 13th position. Will Chadwick in 14th. The Hymo setups by EMM teammate, of course, of Matt Caruana, race winner Robin Glerham in 15th position. The Aztec Racing driver of Giles Genet in 16th position, with both G2 Esports drivers, Jai Fletcher and Will Refford in 17th and 18th. Refford was probably a little bit disappointed with how the opening lap went. Joe Hull into the points, and Lucas Herman there rounding out the top 20. Diana Perez in 21st position with Olivia Hayward. Conor Muir in 23rd after going off the road earlier on in the race. Will Murdoch, Archie Heron, Mia Rose, Jonathan Riley and Kieran Harding finishing on the lead lap of the race. Alexander Strobel unfortunately finishing a lap down. Noah Osbaldson not quite able to back up the previous excellent race. Ryan McAuliffe out of the race. Corey Elaine out of the race. Nina Hahn out of the race. So an excellent second race of the season under wraps, and an excellent drive coming in from Matt Caruana. Let's take the time now to chat to Matt Caruana once again, who is, again, a race winner in the championship, who has been superb once again. I believe it's his 6th win in British Formula 4 Esports. What a time to have done it, and what a way to have done it as well. What a battle from those behind. You were just about able to keep them at bay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was so tough. It's so tough with this many cars on the grid. And obviously, they've all got unreal pace. Remy, Henry, everyone at the front, unreal pace. So it's difficult. But yeah, he left the door open at turn 1, and I had to go for it. Otherwise, I would have just got eaten up.
Obviously, you know, for Hymo setups by EMM, like it's great to be here, new team for you to be driving in. What's that like behind the scenes? Obviously, having left the Mensa Racing driven by us team.
Yeah, obviously new team for me, new teammate with Will. But yeah, we gel straight away. We've been practicing, getting good practice in, and yeah, we didn't have an ideal quali, but got a bit lucky with the reverse grid, and yeah, managed to fix our problem for race 2. So.
Yeah, you went from 15th to 7th in race number 1. Now, I guess, like you say, not an ideal qualifying. I'm sure in that qualifying, when you did finish in qualified in 15th, maybe you were thinking about this evening not going so great. I think you've rescued quite a solid evening there with a 7th and a victory. Is that how you see it, or do you think maybe there was even more out there to be gained?
Definitely in qualifying, we need to sort out whatever's happening there. But no, I feel like the race pace was good for myself. Will got really unlucky with some wing damage, but he had a good recovery in race 2. Yeah, but apart from that, I feel like race 2 was pretty well executed, but there's definitely more on the table for us in qualifying, so we need to sort that out.
Well, Matt, best of luck when we go racing next time out at Thruxton.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There we go, Matt Caruana, victorious once again in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Someone we've spoken to a whole host of times as well over the last couple of years, including those opening double podiums back last year. It's Remy Gilbert here in the commentary booth once again. Second place, still a solid drive. Obviously, the victory was there, but it still was for the other 6 drivers that were in that battle. An incredible way to start the season for you.
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit disappointed with the result in race 1. Just a couple incidents here and there, but yeah, P6 and P2 not too bad. Good points. And yeah, good that Henry as well has done really well. So we should be doing well in the teams, which is yeah, perfect start, I guess.
Yeah, I do believe you are leading the teams championship over TC Esports. So obviously a pretty solid start. Maybe not expecting TC Esports to have started out quite this strong. But last season you were the teams champions, of course, when you were driving for Guild alongside Leo Brown. Coming into the season, yourself and Henry Moore finished 2nd and 3rd in the championship last year. You were the firm favourites to win this title. Do you feel that pressure, or is it just more the expectation internally?
Well, I guess it doesn't really change how we drive. I guess we just go out there and just do the best we can. I mean, we both know that we can score good results. So yeah, I don't think there's really much pressure. I think just has to see how it goes on over the course of the year. But yeah.
You seem to be a driver. I actually kind of spoke about this a little bit with Leo as well after his podium in the previous race. That you, much like him, started out the season with a really good couple of results for you. It was 2nd and 2nd last year. A bit of a drop off after that, and then you really picked up form in the second half of the season. 4 podiums over the final 3 rounds, including that victory at Knock Hill. Are you kind of feeling that you're a driver that gets better as the season goes on, or is there a slump there that you've kind of got an answer to with how you built things up throughout the end of the season?
Not particularly. I mean, I think last year it's had a pretty bad round at Zandvoort and at Alton, which really affected the points. But if I can have a clean run through those races, then I don't think there's any reason why there should be any dips or peaks in performance. So, yeah.
Well, best of luck in a week's time when we go racing at Thruxton, and all of the glory that will bring it.
Thank you very much.
No worries. There is Remy Gilbert, of course, into 2nd position, and of course a new driver for us to catch up to, and a team that's done maybe even better than we expected at the start of this season. And it's time to chat to Danny Moreno. What a fantastic start to the season for TC Esports. Onto the podium, 2nd in the championship. Is that what you were expecting from this evening for a brand new team in this championship? We know you're obviously a very accomplished driver in open wheelers elsewhere in the world of sim racing.
Well, first of all, good evening. No, honestly, I wasn't expecting to be second. Am I second in the championship right now?
The TC Esports is a team.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, honestly, we weren't expecting this much. I mean, we knew we had pace, but obviously there's so much experienced teams in this championship. And honestly, it's just great that we could get these results.
For reference, you're 4th in the Shivers Championship and only a few points off of 2nd, so obviously it has been a great start. It has been a great start to the season for you. How do you build on this? What's next?
Well, I mean, obviously we will try to keep it up like this. Try to get more podiums, obviously, the next races. But yeah, it's really tough. There's really fast people like Remy or Henry Moore. Like, I mean, everyone is crazy fast. And, you know, with the F4 cars, it's really hard to do overtakes, especially because you are in the slipstream train. And yeah, with the contact models, it's also pretty tough to keep it on track sometimes. So yeah, I mean, hopefully we can keep it like this and get more podiums.
And obviously, representing a new team here in British F4 Esports, you've had the joy of representing Thibaut Courtois' esports team over the last year or so. What have you made of that? What's it like behind the scenes? You know, you've got such a strong rostrum of drivers that have been plucked from various places in sim racing.
I think it's great. Like, especially what I like the most is the fact that we are like really united. We are all like really close friends, like all the way from Daniele Haddad, who is managing, Coque Lopez, Agustin, Jack Keithley, literally everyone in the team. And I think that's really crucial because we practice a lot together, we have fun. It doesn't feel kind of like a job of, you know, I have to practice, but I don't really want to practice. With us, we have fun, so we enjoy practicing, and I think just that makes it so much easier to accomplish these results.
Wow, positive vibes win prizes. That is certainly something behind the scenes. So, Danny, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll catch up with you quite a few more times this season based on what we've seen here.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you.
Danny Moreno then on to the podium in his first round at the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. TC Esports, I think probably the biggest talking point there of the opening round as to how strong they've started here. But again, you cannot take your eyes off of Team Bennett. You cannot take your eyes off of Henry Moore, who is our championship leader.
And he had a lot of battles there to try and hold on to that one, to hold on to that lead. So look, I think it's going to be a great season. There's so many drivers there can win races, they can get on the podium, and to be honest, they're going to be the ones giving us the entertainment. This season is long enough in terms of there's going to be 16 races, but it's going to go quickly. Some of these races are back to back, and there's not a lot of time to prepare. So you have to be on it in this championship. And if Henry Moore and Leo Brown, etc., they come out swinging like they did in this race, it's going to be a tough battle, but it's so close, anyone can win.
Certainly is. Now, obviously, what we've got to talk about coming up ahead of us, of course, next up here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, we head into the legendary Thruxton circuit, which is going to be chaotic, to say the least. Of course, that one's going to be fantastic in about a week's time, 7 o'clock here in the UK. But of course, sim racing is a global thing, and there's plenty of other things happening in the world of sim racing, including the eNASCAR College iRacing series. So don't forget to tune into that coming up in just over a couple of hours' time. So we'll be getting ready for that one, week 2 of the championship. Either way, for us here in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, that is us done for the evening. We'll be seeing you in a week's time as we head to Thruxton, ready for more combat and ready for more action. From myself, Liz McGlade, from Cameron Roger, and from Hugo Luis bringing us the broadcast, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in a week.